Welcome.
What up?
Take her
Welcome,
off,
welcome.
boys.
Hello.
So, welcome everyone to this week's TLA stream with our special guest, Srivo, the one and only.
Woo!
Thank you.
So yeah, so before anything else, I'll ask the other TLA members to present themselves. We'll get this started. Then.
Oh, sorry, dude. I was getting the camera going. Right, I'm here and present now. Okay, so yeah, it's Denden Kushi of TLA here with Freeville. Finally, let's get cooking. And yeah, sub to 3. I don't know why I'm saying that. Everyone's sub to 3. Like, if you haven't, yeah, that's checked. Join his Discord. There's going to be some links in chat for it. There's links in the TLA server for it as well in other Discords like partners and stuff. Yeah, and just show your love. So peace, everybody.
Lucas?
Yes, sir. What is going on? It is your boy, Straw Hat Lucas. How's everyone doing today? Hope everything is well. Very excited to get into this Threeville stream. I almost said 3-day because there's too many people in this damn community with 3 in their name. All right. You want me to start this off, Cube, and ask this spicy question I've got in the chamber now that I've pinned down Threeville?
Yeah, Srivo, he's been obsessed with this question. He needs to ask you this. So
I need to know, Threeville. You said Zoro 1,000 times. By the end of that, were you questioning the way you were pronouncing Zoro?
Yes, yeah, I said it 100,000 times, and
100,000 times. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely reached a point where like the word and phrase Zoro felt so weird, but I was just rolling with it.
Dude, I was watching that live, and I was like, this is making me second guess how Zoro's pronounced, so I had to ask.
Are there any characters that you don't like in One Piece?
It's usually like on and off. Like I'll go on like a hate arc for a little bit, and then I'll hop off of it. But right now, I'm not that much of a fan of Usopp.
Okay, yeah, Usopp's a bit harder than Zoro to say 100,000 times, but that is one I would understand. That is probably the one I'd go for, just because he does my head anyway.
No.
You heard it here first, guys. This time Threeville's gonna say Usopp 200,000 times.
No.
Actually,
I think that would literally take me days.
Yeah.
You gotta say
And I remember that stream. It was crazy because I remember I was following in. I was also at work, so I was like looking in and out. And I think at one point, it was like the beginning. I had to dip out for like 30 minutes. When I hopped back to the stream, you were like sweaty. The sweat was starting. I said, "Damn."
I think the hype in that
Dude,
chat was the best.
it was
though.
crazy.
Like, people were ecstatic over it.
It was just like, it was like there was that I was there for pretty much the whole thing. It was just that whole energy of, this guy's gonna do this. Like we're only at like 700, and this guy's gonna do this. And it was like, oh no! And it just went on, and yeah, the chat were just like super supportive, and yeah, it's sick. Loved it.
Yeah, it's funny because like at first I wanted to do it to like send a shock through this space, because like I feel like that's something nobody's ever done before. But then I started to like obsess over like the concept and like the obstacle of it, and I was always thinking like, yo, can I actually do this? Am I man enough to do this? Can I pull it off? And it literally became a deep personal thing to me that like I just had to do it no matter what.
Like a mental challenge and whatnot. Like
Yeah.
If the TLA was more prepared, we would have had like a Guinness World Records dude here to make that official, because there's no way anyone's ever done anything like that. And you got like the time, you got the recording, boom, yeah, you're in the book for sure. Like,
yo, that would have been lit, man.
In the One Piece record book for sure. Like you brought the whole community together. We were all like in the TLA production chat, being like, he's gonna do it. We're sitting there chanting for you. It was insane, man. It was awesome.
Funny.
It was definitely a wild thing. Like I think like this feels obvious to say, but I just need it. Like I just need to say it. Like it's a million times looks. It was brutal. I don't know if I'm ever gonna do something like that again.
Yeah, it's one of them ones that you gotta reconsider. Yeah. I mean, it is impressive though. It's impressive when you started and then went all the way into the end. And like, for me, there was a bit like, my favorite bit, there was a couple of hours, I think it was like maybe hour 2 to 4 probably, where we, the chat and you were starting to develop a meta. And it was like, we're starting to realize like, okay, we need a system here. Like, is this guy going to be able to breathe, drink enough water? How are we going to hydrate this guy? Yeah, so it was pretty interesting, funny, like.
Developing a meta is hilarious. Also, the 50 bomb.
Yeah. Gotta give a big thanks to Christian Cheglaruli. Sorry if I messed up your name. I speak French for most, but did y'all catch that foreshadow when the crew got back in Sabaody? Luffy's jacket had the same print as Lost had. Small foreshadows that they were going to team up soon. Ooh.
We can go straight into the One Piece if that's where we're going.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we do that,
whatever, bro.
I have to address something because it's not that many times that we have a special guest, because many people have heard me talk about there's 4 people in the community who gave me the drive, gave me the compliments, and gave all the feedbacks when I was just a fan. And we have one right here, and it's Freevolt. So I do want to give, without my interaction with Freevolt, I might have not even, wanted to become a content creator or found a love for it. So yeah.
Give this man his roses.
Yeah,
definitely a big one for Cube. He's been talking about this one, obviously, and as I say, it's long awaited as well. It should have probably happened sooner, but just on the question that you asked, like I didn't catch the name you said who read it, but whoever did ask that question, Christian, I would say we can, Christian, like we'll talk about it in a little bit, but look into Kuma, look into Bonnie, look into Law and that pattern that you were just talking about, and you'll start to see certain characters have that pattern, and it seems to make a bit of a connection to a certain sea. But anyway, we can talk about that in a bit. So anyway, before we go into the One Piece stuff, is there any more questions that anyone wants to ask? Freeble, you're welcome to ask a question if you want.
I want to throw something in there real quick. As much as I love spreading positivity, encouragement, and just like high vibrations, like I feel like there's a lot of people that deserve it. So like helping Cube, like that's because I felt like he was a great person. I felt like he deserved that type of energy, and I didn't want anything in return, and I still don't. Like I feel like it's not necessarily about me being a nice guy, but it's about Cube deserving it. That's how I feel, and that's how I see it. So shout out to Cube, obviously yourself, Den, everybody, the whole last arc. We got Lucas, Fritz, 3-Day, everyone. Like you guys deserve it. So let's make it about you guys, not me.
Man, I gotta say, before we get into anything too spicy, Threeville, I've been watching your videos for months. I've only been doing content creation, especially with the last arc, for a little bit. It's still so surreal to me to be on here with you. So like, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No problem.
I mean, like to sort of echo that with you three, like obviously, like I'm aware, like I was there when you were newer, and like I was aware of your progress, and we spoke over the years and whatnot. But you obviously, even without the GLR stuff, that obviously helps and stuff with that with the octopus, right, and the Blackbeard stuff. But dude, it must have come pretty. It must have been not a surprise, but like it must have been intense for you because you blew up so quickly. You know, you were at the Reverie pretty quickly. You were on everyone's collabs pretty quickly, and you were doing this full time pretty quickly. So yeah, congrats to like just smashing it, man.
Yeah, it was, bro, like the whole process and like this whole journey for me was like a movie, because like I was just sitting there on Discord all the time posting theories and text chats, and like I just got so tired of doing that. And one day I'm like, yo, I want to just make a video and I just want to see what happens. And it was the Blackbeard to Octopus theory. And like I had all these thoughts like, yo, they're gonna roast me, they're gonna screenshot this, they're gonna clown me, Twitter's gonna go take this and go crazy. But when I put that out, BDA Law immediately retweeted it. He had no clue who I was, so that caused Grand Line Review to see it. And I remember this specifically, bro. I used to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go to work, and I'd work all morning and all day. And I'll never forget this. I woke up at 5. The moment I go to clock in at work at 6 a.m., my phone buzzes and it's like a Discord ping. And like any other day, I would pretty much ignore it and I would just like, you know, put my phone away and go to work. But for some reason, I looked at this Discord ping and it was like it was from the Grand Line Review Discord. And the thumbnail of the video was like Blackbeard's secret fruit. And I was like, what the hell? And like, for some reason, again, like the stars aligned and I actually clicked on the video when I should have went to work. And he was shouting me out the whole time. And like, I was just completely ecstatic at like 6 a.m. at work, like running around. Like it literally felt like some movie shit.
Complete.
It's a strong start.
Yeah.
It's not a strong start.
Like,
That theory is legendary, man. I literally was just explaining to Fritz the other day because he was asking questions about Blackbeard. Obviously, he's not caught up, and I was like, "But what if he's in Octopus Zone and he has 3 hearts?" Like,
It's like, I feel like a part of the reason that I do take W's on theories here and there in terms of accuracy is because I try to be as non-biased as possible. But when it comes to like Blackbeards and Octopus, there's always like new revelations coming out. Like the fact that his newest bounty has the Japanese pun of 3 hearts, like that just reaffirmed it to me. Like that just felt like, okay, the theory is still growing.
yes.
I do want to I want to touch on that as well, because there's something I wanted to say personally as well. Like, so firstly with that, like there's no one, I would say, obviously we're content creators in this community, so we do have an idea. There's not many people I would say wouldn't agree that like that is the meta. Like irrelevant if you believe the theory or not, like the 3 aspects or the Cerberus or the 3 hearts and stuff like this, like that is the benchmark now for him. And like as you say, that's your first video, and the reason why I wanted to say that is because the Hanuman stuff, right? I was around in your community and stuff when you got that, and which was amazing, right? But I was gonna say, now after that's all revealed, we're like a year ahead. Going back and watching that, it really helps, like my work, for example, what I do and stuff, because like you are objectively a very good reporter. Like you're very you're less of a theorist and more of an investigator, right? I would say personally. And so now I look back at that, like no one else covers that, you know. It was a big reveal, and if it wasn't for your video at the time and stuff, I wouldn't have understood what that means. And like now I put it, it's always in my brain about like, because of Luffy being from the East Blue and Monkey Clan maybe being from the East Blue, the Dragon Clan maybe being from the opposite side of the world, or maybe the other way around and the world got flipped. But either way, like this idea of like this Monkey King and Hanuman and that side of things, it like is so important to the deeper story. And like without your stuff, still no one's really cracked down on that. And yeah, I still go back and watch some of that to like learn, you know what I mean, rather than theorize. So yeah, big ups to you for that, boy.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And like I said before, I'm very self-aware, and I want to make sure that like I'm as non-biased as possible when I make these theory videos, because I know that like people are gonna remember them. Like they could watch a theory video I make in January and they'll remember in June whether it's true or false. So like I'll take into account like, yo, I gotta be as precise as possible. I gotta be as non-biased as possible, because people will remember this. So yeah, like that's just one of my biggest values.
Yeah, man. That
I think that objectivity as well is attractive for a lot of viewers.
Yeah, you even did upgrades to it. You did not like, you did the Blackbeard, you go to thing like, I think you did what, 2-3, more than 2-3, but at least there's at least 2-3 that I know about the whole Blackbeard and his, you know, Delphoid as well, you know. So yeah, also like that.
Yeah, and one thing I try to preach to people, especially like up and coming channels or like up and coming theorists, I try to remind them like, look, it sucks when people don't agree with your theory and they're like rude about it. And I know it can feel bad when like everyone thinks you're insane for thinking a certain way, but I can speak from personal experience that there's been countless theories that like I get roasted over that end up being correct anyways. So like at the end of the day, you got to trust the story. You got to trust your logic. You got to think of how Oda sees it. And you got to remind yourself that sure, it's cool when fans agree with you, but the fans aren't writing the story. Oda's writing the story.
Yes.
So
yes, yeah. And I like, you're definitely, I'd say, an authority to talk on that, because I don't want to get too deep into it, because let's move on to the One Piece stuff. But yeah, like eventually when you've made content for long enough, you realize, wait a minute, what I say might not be understood, even though I believe it's right. So then you have to make a decision, right? Do I lean this into what people understand is easy to consume, or do I lean it into like what I actually think and what Oda says? And you get some interesting reactions on both sides. Like, but yeah. But anyway, boys, did you want to take us into some like more like modern One Piece stuff? What's going on at the moment?
Listen, honestly, the one thing I'm gonna ask, because I think we haven't talked, I think, on VC, you and I, for like a month or maybe, and there's a lot of stuff that happened One Piece. And my question is this: where do you see the story going now? Now that we left Hashino soon.
Ooh, I got a spicy take for this, but I'll let everyone else go first. I got a very spicy take for this.
So yeah.
I'll also reserve myself. I want to hear what.
Okay, I can start us off if we want. Well, I don't think Fritz can start us off.
That's for
Oh
sure.
no.
Okay, so
I'm holding my ears, by the way.
so- okay, fuck it. Let's just go in, right? No rubber. Basically, I'm thinking that it's gonna be massive, way bigger than I originally thought it was. I think the Yorkie stuff, I thought like they reveal a bit of a mid traitor and then they cut, and I was like, oh, that's a bit jarring. But I think when we read it as a whole, it's going to be a lot better. It's going to cut from Yorkie, and then when we go back, Yorkie's not going to be the problem. Like, she ain't going to be the big traitor that we're worried about. There's going to be some bigger protagonists. And I think we are looking at either Saturn dying or seriously being injured. But personally, I believe it's more maybe the other way around. I think it's Luffy in Gear 5 or something like that that's going to be taking some big damage. And they might need to escape Egghead to essentially survive, which will then lead them to Elbaf maybe for a cure or something like that. But I know that's a bit wild. I'm not sure who's on that Blackbeard ship. Personally, I'm still sticking with the agenda. Like, if it isn't Shaka that is the actual traitor, like, or a bad guy, he's the worst character ever written, and that's probably it. And don't forget the call that Shaka made to Dragon, because irrelevant if he's the traitor or not, Dragon was on the phone to Vegapunk, or at least Shaka, before all this kicked off. So it's all going to be popping at Egghead. The Egghead incident's going to be pretty big, I think.
All right, I'll jump in. I don't mind. So, I think after we saw what happened with Beppo and Law, I think they're the ones on the Blackbeard ship, actually. I think they stole the ship and are trying to find Luffy. I may be wrong there. That might be a shit take. I don't know. But when it comes to the Egghead Island incident, I think the siege is going to be big. I'm talking like Summit War big. Probably not as long as Summit War, obviously, because I feel like Egghead will wrap up soon. But I think shaking the world-wise, definitely that big. And I agree with you, Hyde. I think that I think Saturn's gonna die, but I think it will be one of the Vegapunks that kill him, or plot twist.
Ooh.
I think he will go there and warn Straw Hat Luffy about what's going on. I think he will turn coat, because if you see the way he speaks to the other Gorosei, anytime we ever see him, it's always reserved. Like, he doesn't fully trust the rest of them. So I think he will turn coat and not join the Straw Hats or anything like that, but kind of warn Straw Hat Luffy of what's to come, and Kizaru will take him out. Or Kizaru's in leagues with Vegapunk already.
I forgot about Kizaru as well, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, his nephew's there, man. His nephew's there, and he's damaged as fuck. Maybe Kizaru has a change of heart. Or maybe he has always had a change of heart, and he's never been on the sides of the ring. He is lazy justice anyway. He does not want to do his job.
Could you actually? I'm sorry. This went in like a few different directions. What was the question again?
Yeah, sorry, man.
No.
So,
You're good. You're good.
With everything that's happened in the recent chapter, like especially the last month, where like in the like, what do you see happening? You know, because you're very good in your insight is always. I always like your insight.
Okay. Did I think it was Lucas that was going? Did you finish that?
Yeah, I'm good, man. You can go. Basically just said that I agree with Didin. Saturn's probably gonna die. That'll probably be the incident at Egghead Island. But yes, go. Sorry.
Nah, you're fine. So like the moment we saw like the silhouette or like the shape of Egghead Island, I immediately put out like several videos saying like, yo, this is Vegapunk space. Kizaru's gonna come here. This is gonna get bombed like Ohara, all types of stuff, because I immediately started connecting the dots between like Vegapunk, Dragon, Clover, and all that. And it seems like my whole like mega theory is like crystallizing like slowly but surely. So one of the things I see happening is them actually obliterating the island. And like I understand that they have certain technologies and tools that they would want to confiscate and keep for themselves, but at the end of the day, they have the most taboo issue of all time going on, which is researching the Void Century. And like us as fans, we could try to argue that like if we were the go to say, we wouldn't destroy the island and we would confiscate everything and like, you know, just take it over. But like the world government and the Garce, they don't exactly think how we do. And I feel like it's in their nature to just eradicate the whole island by blowing it up, similar to Lucia. They're probably going to even use the Mother Flame, and that's going to parallel the O'Hara incident to the Egghead incident. Yeah, and
nice.
There's also that element of them wanting to kill Vegapunk. I don't think that supports the idea of them not blowing up Egghead Island. I think it's more of an approach where they want to make sure he's dead, kill him by hand, then they could go ahead and like eradicate the island. And I could also see a scenario where Emu is so selfish and so heartless that Emu knows maybe Saturn's on the island and Emu's like, I don't care, and uses Mother Flame anyways. I think that would be a really intriguing moment.
Like, I definitely think it's in style with Oda as well. Like, I don't think there's going to be a trace left of that ancient history. Like, Oda mentioned something about it, like, yeah, there was, no one ever found the Lucia Egghead again, or something like that. But, I don't see any of it surviving.
Just to kind of support that, too, with how childish we've seen Emu is, I can 100% get behind that, especially with the whole fact of, like, because I really do think that Jade Garcia Saturn's going to die. If he doesn't, he doesn't, but that's why we trust Goda. But
that silhouette on the camera looks very like him as well. Like, I know everyone knows this and stuff, but it's crazy. It looks so like him. It's crazy. Like,
but yeah, with how childish Emu is, I could see that too. Them being like, you know what? It doesn't matter that he's there. Take it all out. This gives us a chance to wipe out the Gum Gum Fruit and Vegapunk at the same time.
Yeah, man, like seriously, like picture this. You're heading towards the end of a chapter and Emu's like, oh, use Mother Flame on the Lucia. And then you see like Venus looking at Emu talking, but Saturn's on there. But Saturn's on the island. And then the very last panel is Emu saying, I don't care. Like that would be so badass.
I just got chills. That's so
like,
good.
Like she got like cover ears, Fritz, but yeah, it got really real when they were like, why Lalesia? And she gave the reason, and it's like, woo, she's cold, like super cold.
Yeah, bro, super cold.
Yeah, she doesn't let it slide.
She's still petty towards Lily after 800 years. I mean,
800 years of pettiness, bro.
Man's got grey hair for sure, definitely, like 100%.
Yo, Lily really been living in Emu's head rent free for a millennium, bro.
Yeah, you might think I'm dead, but I'm here. Like, yeah. Shit.
Yo, Emu's definitely the type to make like 10, 15 burner accounts on Twitter to fucking harass.
That is so true. That's so true. Like, not even just the ex. Like, Emu would be in the chat, in the One Piece chat, swaying the theories. Like, nah, that's garbage. It's garbage. Like,
swatting all the
real.
Away.
We maybe don't know that, but actually, every video we drop, that first dislike comes from Emu. Actually, there's already a dislike.
Yo. Emu has noties on just to drop the dislike in the hate comment.
Doesn't watch it, just hits the dislike and leaves. Like, fuck.
Trash theory.
Yeah.
Trash theory, trash take.
Wow.
So actually, my prediction about what's happening in Egghead actually fits in all of you, because I don't know what's going to happen per se, but what I know is, I remember around the same time the manga chapter, we're talking about 1044. Around the same time, and I remember the anime was addressing the whole Who's Who and Jinbei fight, which you know what Who's Who was talking about. So I'm wondering, now that we're getting the anime, what if the manga is doing the reversal? We'll get some Nico lore. This is the part of the Egghead where we'll get like the Joyboy Nico lore.
Yeah. Vegapunk did mention the White Warrior, right? So
yeah.
You know,
if we get any flashbacks on Egghead, it better be some Frankie backstory.
Also, people need to not sleep on Lucci as well, because the government, Oda's left this big trail of breadcrumbs about all these experiments that have been going on, and now they've got the Seraphim pretty much down, and Lucci is looking like he is in a very similar form to Luffy, right? So I think that's going to pop off a bit as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I keep forgetting he's there and that they're teamed up with the
Mm.
Straw Hat.
Yeah, and there's
Weird.
also that theory where people think when Frankie was a kid and got hit by the boat that it was a mad ship. So if we did get a Frankie flashback, maybe it could play into something like that.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Dude, completely.
Big Vegapunk has some ties to me. Actually, me and Cube just talked about this, and Dindin just talked about this the other day. We all think that he has some type of ties to Mad, for sure. And I'm pretty sure Dindin has a spicy video of it, so little plug for you.
Yeah,
buddy.
3-day if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, like, just before we continue, if you know, in chat, if you do have questions, you're welcome to fire them over, and you know, we'll try and jump in them like as we go along, particularly if they're relevant. So, yeah, sorry, carry on, Coop.
I was gonna say, and also like I've been saying this, it is very weird. Well, Zoro and Brooke, I always said that Oda is hiding something, and they were not in the discussion about the past and egghead, which is double sus. But Frankie is if I'm not mistaken, most of Frankie's questions were left unanswered, which I find very interesting when you know about Frankie, the cyber, all the stuff about Frankie. Like Frankie could be the one character where it could be more of his time to shine, but yeah. Shaka always like did not answer Tsunami to Usopp, but Frankie he would just buzz over, which is very weird if you think about it. There's one character that could be so important with his questions, he doesn't get answers.
Well, it's funny you say that because it was him and Usopp that had the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like it was Usopp that said, "I'm Vegapunk," or something like that, or was it Frankie who said, "I'm Vegapunk" to Usopp?
I don't remember.
It was one of them. One of them said something about being Vegapunk, and it was like really just random, like a classic Usopp lie. And yeah, and like for those who do not know, Frankie has tons of ties to Vegapunk in terms of like his character style and his art style, and like he makes weaponry, and all the other mad scientists don't really do that except for Vegapunk. He's covered in stars. Yeah, it goes on, but there's a lot of crazy stuff there. So I hope we get something.
Yeah, it's gonna be spicy if we do.
Yeah, man, because it's
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Go.
One thing that I also wanted to throw in there, in regards to like what's happening on Egghead, I just find it awfully strange that like we have York that would be on like the west wing of the island, and yet we have the east wing of the island blowing up. And like, there's all sorts of moments that I feel like Oda needs to explain in order for York being traitor to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you're not really paying too close of attention, you wouldn't have even thought of that, and you wouldn't really care, which is fair. But like me, I spent way too much time observing like that whole traitor thing, and I was rereading the arc so many times, and like I marked York out because as I'm trying to illustrate, there were so many moments where it's like literally physically impossible for York to do two things at once, and the only thing that we even got an explanation for out of like 20 different events was what's her name getting frozen or turned to stone. York getting turned to stone.
Yeah.
That's the only one that was explained. So right now, I am not a fan of York being the traitor. Oda can answer these things and fix it, but yeah, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is well said as well. Like in a classic whodunit, you build clues into this thing, but instead we got something very different. Like we had Atlas, for example, say, "Oh, by the way, we can change faces." Okay. We had Dragon on the phone to Shaka. Okay, like none of these give us clues as to who the traitor are, but they're clues to something else. So I do think, I hope that we're going to get more to it for sure.
Also,
I mean, the
you
scientists have been captured for a long
records.
If
They still haven't
under
addressed
the-
why punk records. Why punk records would have the flag something if she'd been working all those months. Yet they haven't addressed why punk records never saw with York. The fact that every day they get the same information, the syncing.
In the case that like Oda does manage to make the York thing make sense, there is something good or something that I think would be cool to come out of it, which would be the concept of York making Mother Flame or trying to make Mother Flame in order to join the Celestial Dragons, because we know that Emu was only speculating. Emu themselves, I don't know if it was illustrated that well in the English translation, but in the Japanese Raws, Emu was theorizing. Emu was like, "Oh, I think Vegapunk made Mother Flame. I heard rumors about it." So like, if it was actually Stella and it was straightforward, Emu wouldn't have said it like that, which makes me think that there's some kind of twist to the concept of Vegapunk making Mother Flame. And as you guys know, obviously York is like, oh, I want to be a celestial dragon. So it would you can form an easy connection by arguing York pitched in for the Mother Flame, and then that would explain why it's just a rumor to Emu.
So
because Vegapunk has done some sus stuff.
this will
But
go
that's
into
too sus.
a question I have for everyone here then. Who did you guys initially think the traitor was? Because my vote was on Edison. Something about a little chibi robot just screamed traitor to me. So, like, who did you guys think was the traitor? I know you did.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was
So,
putting my money on the Blackbeard Pirates because we know that like the best infiltrators, like for a while, like they were missing, and then we also saw that ship approaching Egghead. So I was like, man, wouldn't it be so cool that like Shiryu? Okay, so here's one of the details, right? We know that you'd have to be, I forgot what the room was called. You'd have to be in that certain room to turn the shields on and off. But when they looked in that room, it was empty. And I feel like an Occam's razor approach is that the person was invisible. So, you know, just going off that, I was like, damn, like it could easily be Shiryu. And like, imagine if you had people like Lafitte hypnotizing guards, hypnotizing, what's her name? Lilith. Like I felt like there was a lot of great opportunities to basically have the Blackbeard Pirates and their infiltration squad manipulate Egghead Island, but you know, I took the L.
It was you. If I'm not mistaken, it was you that was saying like the Lafitte thing, the TikTok, where in the just before, like on the bridge coming out the shadow, there was a TikTok like steps or something like that, and who I think it was Edison who was on the bridge got blown up. Someone was saying that was the same sound effect as Lafitte's tap shoes.
Yeah, people have found
yeah,
that when Lafitte taps, I think it was in Jaya, which is interesting because there are parallel characters who have appeared in that introduction. There's the scene where he introduced Blackbeard as a possible future Shishibukai, where it's just a scene where we see Mihawk in the room, Doflamingo, Kuma, Tsuru, and Sengoku, which with the Seraphim and Tsuru and Sengoku, they've all reappeared in those last months of chapters. So
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Is Hattori on Egghead? Because if he's there, that means Lafitte's there.
Well, that's whoa. Yeah. We got to shout out Dill Super Fury. Yeah, like I think Hattori flew off, right? Like as Lucci got a bit of a slap, like Hattori was like, "I am out," and then went and turned into Lafitte somewhere else. And did some tap dancing.
But mine was Punk Records with that statement of Jinbei. What happened to Punk Records? All the ideology, and I always wondered that what if the issue was Punk Records somehow affected certain. I think it was my headcanon now. I still believe if it's not York, that it could be Punk Records that have affected York's will, and S Flamingo, S Bat, and S what's his name, S Crocodile. If you think about it, those who have yet to appear in the story, and you think about in the storyline, they're the ones where you would think that, you know, if something is affected in them, they would have. And I'm sorry, the whole Atlas going after going after Rob Lucci when Shaka told him not to reminded me of how King Riku was pushed forward with Ito Itonomi by the Flamingo. And then you think about it, the way Shaka was outed, very Doflamingo-like. Like there is some stuff that is just weird for me. Like it seems like whoever is helping out York, if it's not just York, seems to do parallels to stuff we've seen in the past. You know. So that's
I do think Egghead is like a massive bunch of parallels. Yeah, like a huge bunch of older story notes put in, like rehashed. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I absolutely love that you say that. Because, and again, I hope this does not come off rude, toxic, negative, anything like that. I'm gonna pitch this as honestly as possible. I feel like people kind of get very narrow-minded. Like one thing I'll give an example for is like Egghead. Like I would compare a lot of aspects to the Egghead Island arc to Marineford, and then like some people would shoot it down and they would argue that no, there's no way it's a parallel to Marineford. It has to only be Sabaody. And it's like, I think you can have multiple parallels at the same time. Like, I think multiple things can be true at once. So I really, really appreciate that you pitched it that way.
I know.
I think
that's it. Yeah, go then I'll go afterwards.
I was going to say, like, I think it's relevant now more than ever. Why do I say that? Oh yeah, because obviously we've had the Lily reveal and stuff like that. So everybody who's reading One Piece, or not Two Pieces, Freeville would say, like, knows that before the time, like, Oda obviously had some plans for a story and had the opportunity to, like, lengthen that story. And in the middle of that, we've had a lot of the similar motifs, but just delivered in different ways, different mythologies and stuff like that, different cultures. Now we're going back into something that is probably new. We're probably going to see less, maybe not parallels, but we're going to see less shout outs to older arcs, and we're probably going to get into, you know, the Alabasta stuff pretty soon, and like start finishing One Piece like the way it would have been finished before if it wasn't for the massive extension, like 20 years or something.
Yeah, and yeah, for me, it's to answer back what you were saying is, and this is how I actually see One Piece in terms of, like, at least now, it's a mix of, like, I tell people love to talk about Wano, about Swallow Bark, and people like make compare with the steak as Marine Forest. Is honestly, the raid gives me vibe of the raid of Ennis Lobby, you know, Cypher Cole, Robin, you know, the way they're going after Robin, Luffy introducing a gears, and you know, you have literally Gear 5 in Wano, like there's so much. So yeah, I do agree with Freeville that it's not just one parallel. Like Oda, I think Oda pre-time skip played around with one big story and separating those different islands, and now he's playing around, connecting them back together, you know, connecting the dots. That's just how I see it, you know. But yeah, it's
yeah,
actually,
like there's a lot of dots to connect, I guess. It's been a long time.
There was a question dropped by Tosmarn. I have to find it. And actually, since we have the one person who called out the names of the Gorosei over a year ago, I feel like it's a perfect, because I didn't believe it. I'll be honest with you, when you dropped the idea of the possible name of the Goroseis, at the time I didn't believe it. Was being more and more convinced as time goes on, and then when it was revealed, I said, well, damn, I gotta give him his flowers. So the question is, if y'all can, so he asked, Sosmaron believes that the Gorosei titles are basically the opposite of what they actually do. Like basically they were giving titles and they're not fit for it. So they're the opposite role. Like they're incompatible with the roles.
So in other words, the finance one is bad with money.
Yeah. The most likely the environment one is bad for the land. You know what I mean? It destroys the land. That was the idea.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because they're antagonists. They're usually set up to be evil. They're set up to bring destruction. And like the One Piece world is suffering in a lot of ways anyways. And it would only make sense that they're suffering because of the world government and their tyranny. So yeah, I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's very like poetic, like to have, like antithesis or like anti-gods sort of thing. Like dudes that are supposed to be looking after stuff and in the end they're fucking it up. So yeah, I think that's a sick idea actually.
But they're all the Antichrist kind of thing.
Yeah.
Straight into the YouTube meta. Yeah. Hello, Susan. Okay, so what about more recent events then? Like, what about? I just want to go straight into it. I imagine you don't think Garp is finished.
Like actively dead?
I mean, it's hard to be actively dead, but yeah, pretty dead.
I mean, I definitely think if he was dead right now, that Oda would have named it or named a chapter after it. There would have been a narrator thing. Like it would be a whole big deal. But the fact that it's sort of open-ended and we don't know his true fate makes me think that there's no way he's dead.
Okay.
But moving forwards, I mean, they could try to sell him the Cross Guild. They could try to use him as a bargaining chip. Maybe they could try to kill him for infamy to the Blackbeard Pirates. Maybe they could try to, get the world government to make Hachinosu an official country and threaten Garp's life. There's a bunch of different ways that it can unfold.
I mean, it's possible even maybe that the reason why they're freezing him was to put him back in the Marie Joie freezer, and then when it thaws a bit later in the story, he starts busting out from the inside. But that's a reach. But yeah, I think. What's your thoughts on the fact that he was frozen? Like, do you think that's significant? Because Ice in One Piece does seem to be about preservation, like, all preserved.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a really good point. It does seem to be about preservations, and what like further solidifies that is that Oda showed us freezing people, especially from Aokiji, has them end up living. Like literally in the past like 15 chapters, we saw the whole Saw thing. He was revealed to be alive, and the ice time capsule that Aokiji used was the cause of that. So since that happened so recently, it kind of makes me feel like Oda's like, all right, reader, pay attention. Remember how Saul was frozen? Yeah, he's actually alive. Yeah. And this was like 10 chapters ago. Now Garp's being frozen again, and maybe we didn't see a name drop of Ice Time Capsule, but look at what just happened to Saul by the same person, Aokiji.
If I could jump in real quick, Grievel, just when you were talking about like what they could do with Garp, I had a thought. We were all talking about how Egghead kind of parallels Marineford. We all feel that way in some way or another. What if they try to execute Garp on Hachinosuke Marineford style like they did with Ace? Like
wait. One sec. Let me just jump in. When he says Hachinosuke, he means Hachinosu. Hachinosuke is his D&D character.
That's my D&D character, so I mixed them up.
Just know that going forward, because it might not change.
I mess that up all the time. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, like on Hachinosa, what if they put him on the execution stand and it's basically going to mirror not only Ace's execution but Roger's as well, with the execution of the Pirate King, and here's the execution of the Marine hero of his era. Like that, I don't know, something about that clicked in my head when you were saying it.
Yeah, and like that could be for like a bargaining chip. Like exactly. Blackbeard could have him up, in front of everybody on camera, like, yo, world government, you better bring me 10 warships, Vegapunk, and I don't know, something else, the Mother Flame or something, or else this guy right here is gonna die, and then they stab him or something, and like it's like a race against the clock. And then Luffy's also like a mix in it because he's like, yo, like I'm not the world government, I'm not gonna give you all that shit, but that's my grandpa and I'm pulling up. Like I could see a scenario similar to Marineford.
Exactly.
It'd be sick if they did use him as bait. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. It would basically be, like he said, a bargaining chip for the Marines, but bait for Luffy. Like it gets him
also.
In one... Yes, Q. Sorry.
There was some like really interesting stuff from Kuzan with flashback when he mentioned the haki. Like it suggests that like Kuzan's very fruit heavy, and like he's probably got strong haki now. But we saw it in their fight together. He used his ice fist or whatever it is, and Garp was using haki. Again, it's like this contrast of fruit versus haki. And Kuzan's fruit, like we were talking about ice earlier, Kuzan's fruit is probably extremely significant, like Aikiji's fruit. Because it's ice. It's ice. So yeah, I think it's interesting to have him being the one there who freezes him, and like I think like Aikiji's going to be a big boy. He's going to be a very, very fucking big Chad, I think, like in the end game. Like maybe the leader of a new type of sword or something like that. But yeah,
can we all agree
more important.
Can we all agree that Aokiji's line to Garp about raising enemies was one of the coldest things Oda has ever written?
It's cold. Oh yeah.
It's just like the biggest The problem is you. It isn't. It isn't. But yeah, you all know my agenda.
It's
I believe
One Piece dad syndrome, like.
Yeah, as you all know my agenda about Garp, being not knowing that he's actually rocking Xebex. I just feel like whatever's gonna happen, I do feel like the Blackbeard is interested by God Valley, and I don't know how it's gonna happen. Maybe it could be as simple as going to Pudding's memories and realizing that there's more to Garp. But he does have all the fruits necessary to bring back someone. He has Moria's fruit.
Cube had a video come out a couple of days ago about this, and like,
I sent it.
Like most Cube takes, is something that I think people hear and they're like, they don't get it, or they're not like sure at first. But you can't, like, you've been talking about Garp's rocks for a long, long time, and so is Adam, and like, it is definitely a possibility now. Like, I can't believe I'm saying it, but like it's the ingredients are there. So yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, man, and he's turned into ice. The last time we seen someone came back to life. Before that, it was what? Ors, who was on ice. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Putting Luffy's soul in him. So yeah, so we've got the Garp stuff. What did you make of Garp? Like, were you? I don't even need to ask, but like, I'm guessing you were like, okay, this guy's pretty a monster, like pretty hard.
Yeah, he's definitely a beast. I definitely think like it takes a lot to knock him down even at this old age. But like I was already very convinced that like Garp, like he was gonna have to lose here on Hachinosu. Like the concept of going against Aokiji plus that whole Blackbeard fleet, maybe Blackbeard is even gonna pull back up to the island because he kind of like mid-diffed Law or whatever. Like I feel like Garp was set up to just not win here. And I even thought like he was going to die, and maybe he does end up dying because of losing this fight. But yeah, it definitely will not be easy to, and it wasn't easy to, you know, knock him to his knees.
So what do you think about, have you had any of the Snape stuff? Like, it was one of my first reactions when I read the chapter. Like, do you think that it was maybe planned?
You said the Snape stuff?
Yeah, like, so, like, do you reckon that him and Kuzan had this planned? Garp's like Dumbledore, Kuzan Snape.
Yeah, so
yeah, he's like,
yeah, like I've been considering that. I've been thinking like maybe they're not fighting for real, and then like that could play into Aokiji freezing him to preserve his life. But I'm not sure if I'm willing to put chips on that. It's definitely possible though, and like if it happened, it would make sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not quite ready to invest in that yet, though.
Yeah.
I am. I'm all in. Woo! No, I'm joking. I'm not. I'm not.
Well, I do feel like
Kuzan definitely left him alive because of their past, but I don't think it's been like a big plan. But there is some evidence for it. So, just like Threeville said, I'm not gonna put my chips on it, but I get it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
I do feel like that flashback was important, that training, because I always find it very interesting as Gruz does not have the same title as Ahmed Kobe, but they were in the same room. Why is it not more of a class, but more like the next infiltration for the next few years, you know? Like where we have to go.
Well,
Kuzan was in that room. What's that? How do you say? I struggle every time. Kujaku was in there. Yeah. The whole of Sword was in there, including Jaku. The peacock.
Yeah. So I do feel like there was more. I think that flashback there, we might get more that training, or you know, that lesson. I think there was more to it.
Yeah,
man, definitely. The start of something. And finally, we got some Kobe dubs. Jeez, it's not been very long, I guess, but jeez. Yeah, big boy.
As a Kobe enjoyer, I loved that.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm a huge Kobe and Sabo supporter.
Yeah,
that's
You know how amazing these past 30 chapters have been for me? I've been eating great.
Cube's a fan as well. Cube's a big Sabo fan.
Yeah. For me, it's great moments to follow those ones. And honestly, because I'm so happy because people have been not realizing the powerful glow up of Kobe, and so, but it's not as powerful as Luffy. And it says we don't have to see. We can understand between the lines that he's been training more than anyone else to be able to be at that level. So I'm happy that El Mepo kind of brought it up, how much he worked trained more than most people.
Yeah,
I'm still
we mentioned Marie.
About Lieutenant Commander, but I'll let that slide.
You cut out a bit then. What did you say, Luke? You cut out.
I said I'm still confused on how Helmeppo got Lieutenant Commander, but I'll let it slide right now.
Yo, El Mepo, come on.
By blowing himself up, apparently. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been pretty cool, and like it's like, as I say, I'm a big fan of Bruce. I think he's cool, even though he's a bit of a simp. And yeah, it's just cool seeing them all. But I'm curious, like, they've got away and Garp's there. You mentioned Blackbeard. Do you think that's it now? Do you think Hachinosu, I nearly said it myself, Hachinosu's all wrapped up, packed, goodbye, done?
Oh man, I feel like Blackbeard himself has like a 50-50 chance between like Egghead and Hachinosu, and I haven't quite leaned towards. I kind of want to lean towards Egghead because I do feel like with the narrator at the end of 1088, I feel like it was pitched in a way to where, like how you said, it's kind of closing the curtains on Hachinosu. Now that I think about it some more, so maybe Blackbeard does, you know, get this mid-diff on Law, and he's like, all right, it's time to go to Egghead. I want to see Luffy. I want to get these Seraphims. I want to see Vegapunk. We know Blackbeard's obsessed with fruits anyways, so someone like Vegapunk would be a massive asset to him. But yeah, now that you kind of like made me actually like reconsider. Like we had that whole narrator thing at the end of 1088. And it even ended with like, oh, the incident with Luffy at Egghead, like it, and then we saw the ships approaching the island. It does seem like we closed the curtains on Hachinosu for a little bit.
It is. I do agree. It is like, I've always thought Egghead would be a big interest to Blackbeard. I mean, he's a historian. They spoke about archaeology when they were on the island and stuff. Like, so yeah, it's a shame that there's a Blackbeard ship there, so who knows? Who knows what's going on? But yeah. Anyone else got any takes on Egghead before we shoot?
Well, honestly, for me is, and I said that the transition for me was very interesting. Is the last thing we see Hachinosu as the swords leaving on the ship, and then the next thing we see in Egghead is a marine ship is finally arriving, docking at Egghead, without saying which marine ship was it, because there are 100 marine ships. So I'm wondering if there's a sword related information connection, or is it just, you know, the Gorosei with Kizaru? I just found the transition very interesting.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we, like, I'm not saying Bogart's a fraud. I wouldn't do that. You have to make claims for him to be a fraud. No, it's cool. But Tashigi, I am gutted about. Like, I'm not a Tashigi fan, but her first reaction was like, yo, we've got so much power on the ship. Get everybody off, run away. Everybody needs to flee. So I'm kind of gutted because I want her to be like real strong now. But yeah. Anyway, any complaints about like the sort of, so the Emu chapters, we can go back into them in a minute, but with the Hachinosu stuff and the first half of Egghead, other than the traitor, is there any complaints before we move on? Like, is there anything that you think was dropped, like any L's or for any of you?
Nah, just only York, in my opinion. I absolutely love this arc so far.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Same.
100%.
It couldn't get much spicier.
I'm still wondering why Oda broke code by pivoting completely outside of Egghead, even though we were in the middle of a struggle. And that whole reverie thing, like, I feel like the fact that York and Blackbeard revealed their royal leanings, you know, towards, you know, the becoming kings, the Celestial Dragon. And now we have literally an entire lore that we've never had about the reverie, Celestial Dragons, Dragon himself, even more lores about how they work. Then they're working with the Holy Knights. I'm trying to see how all of this connects back to Egghead, because he broke code in a way. He's never done that. In the middle of an arc, middle of a struggle, before anything happens, goes out of the island to show the rest of the world. It's very intriguing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like a bit of a counterpoint to the reverie almost, because we saw Emu in like 906, 908, and now we're like a couple hundred chapters in front, and like we sort of cut away to it all of a sudden, like kind of similarly. But yeah, right, let's go on to the agenda piece. So let's start hot. The Gorosei have some weird forms. What's our thoughts? How does that come about? What is that about? What explains it? Is it a fruit?
Yeah, I think Oda is gonna lean into giving them like mythical zoans, especially when you consider like the admirals. Like, they are under the fleet admiral and they all have devil fruits, and I feel like there's kind of like a pattern here, and the Gorosei are gonna be underneath Emu, like quote unquote a fleet admiral, and they're gonna have devil fruits. Also, like when you think about like the Wano arc, we had Kaido, who was phenomenal at hockey, and he had a mythical zone. We know Luffy's becoming very proficient in hockey. He has a mythical zone. So I feel like Oda's kind of building a trend here where like some of the strongest people in the world, like they obviously will be skilled in hockey, but they'll simultaneously have a devil fruit. That way their arsenals are so large and they just have like a wide array of options. Rather than like making them like giving them some weird innate animalistic thing. Like I think it's like just way simpler for them to have devil fruits.
Yeah. Any of you boys?
Yeah, honestly, I do see this thing. my whole thing is, my question is this: when the Gorosei were transforming, was it their actual form, or was there some aid from Emu? Because I found like the way they transformed, you know, like the shadowy figure style. Unless if Oda just wanted to keep it, you know, blurry for us not to guess what are the devil fruits. I feel like it was just more than transform. So I'm just curious about it, you know. That, you know, Emu has maybe introduced, you know, connecting with someone else's abilities.
Like, just to tie into what you're saying, Ku, about Emu basically having an effect or causing them abilities. It might be a bit too vague to remember, but the panel where there's like all these blob things all over the place, like, you know, going crazy in the throne room. Have you ever spoke about how many Gorosei are in that, or is Emu in that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Wait, what was the question? Can you say that question again?
It's hard to explain. Like, there's a panel in the throne room where you see them all in these like big black forms.
Yeah.
And it's not the first one. It's afterwards. It's the second one where they're like huge and they just take over the room. I'm curious. Do you know if that? Do you think that that's all the Gorosei, or do you think Emu is in that panel as well?
I'm pretty sure Emu's not, because didn't we see what Emu's form looked like? And I think you can count them out, unless I'm looking at the wrong panel.
Yeah, like you can count them, and there's this little bump. And some people think that Emu's the back shadow, and that little bump's one of the Gorosei. But I personally agree with you. I don't think Emu is in that panel, which is interesting because Emu just seemingly disappears in that case.
All right, I'm gonna post
it. Might be that.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that panel in the VC?
Yeah, I think he's talking about this one.
I'll have a little look. See.
Or are you talking about the second one?
Give me 1 sec. Can't see stuff like that.
That's what it is.
Oh, where are we? Oh, there. So it is that first one. No. The second one down. Do you think that that's 5 members of the Gorosei, or do you think it's 5 members of the Gorosei and Emu?
I think the one, I should say, I know the one crawling from the top. That should be Emu, because Emu was at the throne, right?
So there's only 4 Gorosei underneath them. Is that correct? Would you say?
Yeah, and I think the little bump you're talking about is on the left, right, behind Saturn.
Yeah, and that's the 5th. Are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. It's an interesting panel, and also I'm sorry to do this. I think it's 208, but like in the Cypherpole cover story, towards the end when they find the Cypherpole agents on the island, they're all in very similar silhouetted shapes with the white eyes as well. So if anyone hasn't seen that, that's worth checking out at some point.
You said 208?
I think it's about 208. It's the end of the Cypherpole cover story, pretty much. I know that's real vague. I'm sorry. It's a good. In fact, you know what? Let me see if I got it on my phone handy, and then people can repost it in the Discord if they want for the chat and blah 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 blah.
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm about to post it actually.
Wait, you've seen it?
I'll be real. I'm being quiet because I'm cooking up a spicy theory about all of this.
Okay.
He's cooking in silence.
Yes. Well, no, I've been cooking for months.
I got the image. I got the image.
Be careful.
I shouldn't have said the number, should I?
Shit.
Hot in the US right now.
It is very hot out here.
It's chapter 522 apparently. Just forget I said anything. But yeah, I put it in the VC chat. It's chapter 522. It's the first page of the cover story. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out, because Cypherpole are very heavily tied to like the real true force of Emu and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of ties there. But go on, Lucas, shine some light on this theory.
No, I think that Emu is kind of not controlling their devil fruit powers per se, but I think that she is boosting it, if that makes sense. I've said this to you guys multiple times, and I'm willing to give this little piece of the theory out, is that I think that Emu's devil fruit has something to do with the void, as like a void fruit or something like that. And the biggest misconception about a void, most people think it means blank space. But if you look at the darkness of space and stuff like that, a void doesn't necessarily mean blank space. It could actually mean that it's consuming all light. And it would make sense if Emu consumes all light, since she is the natural enemy of the sun god Nika. So I'm thinking that because she consumes all light, she can consume devil fruits and then give them to people. But
Whoa.
I'm not gonna get too into it because I want to keep the spice for a video. But yeah, I really do think that she has some way of boosting their devil fruit abilities so that they can go beyond, like Threevil said, a mythical zone. So maybe they have a base mythical zone, and then by coating them in those shadows, they become somewhat stronger by like lending her powers.
Nice. Nice.
I like that because
like,
I've always said this. Sabo isn't a scrub. He's supposed to be like, second in command of Revolution Army. I think his statement about saying when he did his attack to Emu and the Gorosei, he thought it would do more damage. He was shocked that it didn't do as much damage, which I think is very telling. There was something that happened to his effect. And we've never seen a Fire Blast contact with people and just evaporate it. I've looked on panels. There's some sort of reaction or something, some sort of effect.
Yeah, as it goes up the stairs, it just like steams out, right? Like
almost like
it's just being undone.
It's kind of like it was like water was thrown on it or something. It was weird. Have we got any thoughts on the observation stuff? Like how didn't they detect Wapple and Sabo in the room and stuff like that? Any ideas?
I feel like I'll be driven insane if I think too much about it, because like Emu should be like towards the pinnacle of like observation hockey and like strength and wits or whatever. So like, from that angle, like I feel like Emu should have noticed, but again, like I feel like I'll just go crazy if I worry about it too much. Like I know how I am.
Me with my Emu theory.
It's true. It's true. I can't deny. Like I won't go too into it, 'cause these guys have heard it 1,000 times in the past month. But like my personal thoughts are something is going on with Life Return. Like the more I think about Gear 5, I could go into this all day, but like the more I think about Gear 5, Cypher Pole, the Gorosei, like the phrase Life Return, the fact like you can use it for absorption and like just changing like your state of matter almost. I don't know, there's something about it that really echoes it. So personally, I'm going in that direction. And I think it might even be why we're seeing Chopper give Beppo this medicine and put him into the Sulong form, because I think whatever they're doing, whether it's Emu or the Gorosei, it's like similar to the medicine that Chopper can make, but it's spiritual or mystical rather than scientific, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, that's where I think that's going.
I need to stop cooking on this.
It really makes me think of the whole debate of man of faith or science. You know what I mean? Nurture versus nature.
East versus the West. Monkey versus the dragon, maybe. Yeah, we could be going that way.
That's a really interesting thing.
It's setting up the story to be about Luffy taking down God. If in my opinion, who is God? So what you guys are saying, like the monkey versus the dragon and stuff like that, it all makes sense a lot.
It like what Threevil was saying earlier about O'Hara and stuff like that and Egghead. That's what drew my attention to it. The Egghead arc made me look more into the O'Hara arc and timeline. Because for those who don't know, the Egghead incident is present day, which means that the God Valley incident was, 28 years ago?
Yeah.
And no, 38 years ago or whatever. And then the incident with Mother Carmel was exactly 38 years again before that. So where she freed the giants. So there does seem to be this time lapse going on. I thought, okay, maybe O'Hara's in a similar time lapse. And then it basically looking at O'Hara brought me to Dragon. And then I just could not sleep properly without this like, his name is Monkey D. Dragon. I don't know why I never really thought about it properly before, but that is huge, right? He's the dude of the revolutionaries, and he's got the name Monkey and Dragon. Celestial Dragons, Hoof of the Dragon, and Monkey D. Garp and Luffy. So yeah, I think it's mad. I think we're definitely looking at something like East versus West, two major clans. But yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, that's for me the whole basis of someone in our world who understands someone's nature and nurture, and they're able to manipulate it. That's the base of what hypnosis is, which is a big part of One Piece. So yeah. Like there is something.
I wasn't laughing
Like,
at
if
you, I promise. I had a funny thought. I'm
I'm-
sorry.
No worries. And I want to know more about what makes Stussy perfect clone. You know what I mean? Also, they haven't explained what is different about Stussy. You know what I mean? And we don't know what age she is, but we know at least she's been active for 20 years because she joined Cyberpol 20 years ago.
Yeah, she is sussy Stussy. For sure.
Yeah, man, like that's part of the reason why I think Weevil is like a maybe considered like a failed clone. Because like when you think about like when they revealed Stussy being a clone, they said the first successful clone, and like just knowing Oda, it's like yeah, the first successful clone, because there's been failed ones. Like that just it seems like it's such an Oda style. Plus like logistically, like they had to have failed a clone before they finally got it right. So like I've been thinking like maybe Weevil is a failed clone of Whitebeard, maybe even a mix of people like Kaido, Shiki, and Whitebeard together. Like there's a few different ways you could spin that, but yeah, I've been running with that thought for a while.
And I'll say this, I do like that.
Go on.
Because I do like that. I actually call Weevil the cell of the rock pirates. Because if you think about it, there's all those former rock pirates, but I'm telling you, his cheeks and his neck gives remnants of Big Mom when she was a child. I mean his actual cheeks. Yeah, calm down, dude.
Okay,
Calm down.
sorry.
I never think about in cheeks.
But
It's
yeah,
late in the UK.
his face like really looks a bit like Big Mom when she was a child with Mother Caramel. That fatty, puffy, with the neck as well.
Yeah, there's a guy in our community called Ray, who's been around for a long, long time, and he told me a couple of years ago, like, to keep an eye out for the stitching on people's faces. And God, I'm so glad he told me that, because ever since then, over the past couple of years, we've seen Sentomaru, we've seen Weevil, we've seen all the Crocodile even. Like, we see all these people with like these stitching on their faces, and they all seem to end up being tied to sort of science and Vegapunk potentially. So yeah, it's very interesting.
I'm actually I have a question to ask.
Go on.
Actually, now he said something, and I would like to ask a question because we've seen the SB pictures of all the Shichibukai. We've seen Crocodile as a child did not have the scar, but the one we saw in the panel seemed to the one week in the past had those scars that he has in his adult. That really got me very curious,
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
No. If it's canon like that SBS about that type, why was a scar added? That was my question. You guys have a thought?
So I feel like Crocodile's hatred from Whitebeard probably stems from some kind of fight or conflict, and that would explain the scar across his face. But like how you said, the Seraphim one has it, so I don't know if like this is gonna sound wild, but I don't know if Vegapunk sliced a kid's face right across just so he could keep up with the canon, so he could be as realistic and as close to detail as possible.
That would be messed up.
Yeah, I've seen some other people talking about this, and there is some discussion about how like it might have been done stylistically by Oda to distinguish them, because like we see S-Snake has the earrings as well, which is a bit of a weird touch from Vegapunk. Like, yeah, she better have the same earrings as the other one was wearing. But I think it was to maybe distinguish them, because it's possible anyway, like because they look so similar, S-Snake and S-Croc and all that stuff. Like,
well, dude, the funniest one is S-Hawk, and people say, yeah, like, he has a fire sword, right? What's his devil fruit?
Yeah.
He's a sword man. Like, it is the most redundant thing. Like, dude's holding a sword when his entire body is a sword. It's like there's something off. Like, it seems like there's something he needs to maintain, like from original ones. Yeah, because I still want to know why he's using a sword.
Like, something's going on there. Like, we could get into it if we want a bit later, but the whole green blood thing, like a lot of us at TLA talk about the idea that it's becoming clearer now, in my opinion, that God Valley, there's a lot of experiments that have been going on with aging, extended life, extended size, and like hybrid experiments. And it seems that it's all kind of culminated with this like green blood. and they've taken the Lunarian lineage factor to make sure that like these guys can live a bit longer and grow and stuff like that. Yeah, but so it might just be some form of lineage factor. Like they got Croc's blood after he had the scar, so when he grew with the scar or something like that. But it doesn't explain the earrings still.
Yeah, it might actually be the cosmetic route
Yeah.
to like be able to distinguish who's who.
Yeah, his makeup, like Vegapunk was like, I better draw this on him. Okay, cool. So we've gone to the Seraphim and whatnot. We're doing so now. Let's talk about basically with what's coming up. We've got a big awaited arc, which is Elbath, obviously. Do you think Elbath's going to be like a big arc, or do you think it's going to be just a wee pass through?
I feel like it's just being built up to be like this monster of an arc, because we're all expecting Usopp character development. We're expecting probably Shanks. I feel like that's one of the big ones. A lot of people even think like Blackbeard might show up and have a battle, which would just further extend what's going on. A lot of people argue that Loki's going to be a big thing, whether he's strong or a Spandam kind of guy. Then you could argue that Big Mom comes back. Like the amount of potential plot lines and like plot devices taking place in that arc feels like it would be very strange if it was like 25 chapters or less. Because if I'm not mistaken, hasn't Egghead been already at like 20 chapters by now?
It's definitely
almost 30.
Yeah, it's been a minute, and we got more as well, obviously. So
yeah, 1061 was the like the picture of Egghead, and then we saw Bonnie like taking the water off or whatever. So yeah, it's been almost 30 chapters of Egghead, and God knows how many we have left. So I would expect Elbath to be longer than this, longer than 30 for sure.
Yeah, the Big Mom thing can't be understated. The flashback, what she's got potential of. I think personally she's pretty slept on. She could actually be like the God of Destruction or have that something like that going on inside her. And when she gets to Elbath, I don't think she's going to be a very happy girl after Wano. So I do see, but as you say, there's a ton of other storylines as well. So I just have no idea how he's going to do it all, even if he makes it a bit longer. But the pace is moving pretty quick right now, so hard to tell.
Yeah, I have like all these mixed feelings because I definitely understand the sentiment of like Oda speeding up the story and like why people feel that way. But like, I feel like there's also the other side of it where it's like when we finally get answers, it feels like it's being rushed. But in reality, like we're just finally getting answers that we've been waiting for so long to get.
Yeah.
And you know, like another thing is like, another layer to it though is like, Oda has to be so used to writing this story that like he's scared to rush it and scared to mess it up, or at least that's how I see it. Like he might say like, yeah, we're gonna wrap this story up in a few years, but him as a person, he's gonna be thinking like, oh man, I can't rush this and mess it up, or like, oh man, like I really enjoy writing the story. I've been doing it the past 3 decades. How am I gonna live life not doing this? Like I feel like there is going to be that level of humanity that he has that just also plays into the idea of him not speed running the end.
Okay, interesting. It like obviously we all hope he won't speed run it, but at the same time, like with the Garp stuff, in, out, done, and I think I agree with you. I think when we look back retrospectively, that's when we'll be able to see if the pace was on or off. Because Wano, for example, now I had a lot of like gripes for Wano towards the end, and now I can appreciate it a bit better, even though there is that bitter taste in the mouth. But yeah, I understand your point. What about you boys? Are you excited about Elbath? What's your thoughts?
Elbath! I'm a big proponent of Blackbeard showing up there, and that's where we'll get the Mugiwara versus Blackbeard fight. Maybe not the final one, but at least like the start of it. Because Shanks is there. I mean, Kid just got fucking smoked there. But I really am. I'm a big proponent of that. I could see that being where the story's headed. obviously the Usopp character development is important. Like you guys said, we've all been waiting for Elbaf since Little Garden, literally. I'm very excited to see what he does with it. I don't think it's going to be a short arc either. I'm with Threevil. I think probably around 40, 50 chapters for it.
I think 50 would probably be enough.
Yeah.
I don't know, I saw this headcanon. You've said the characters I'm interested about Elbaf, but I've if it's Elbaf, I really hope Elbaf will connect back to the Burka Sky Islands where NL was, because they did say that they came from Burka was from the other side of the Sky Islands, and they said they took the Risker Road by coming to Skypiea. So it would make sense. Maybe the Island of Giants, there's a tree that goes up to the sky, and that's that would connect also to Burka,
Or
and also Viking
Skypiea.
and this. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
Skypiea as well. I was giving you the alley oop on that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like if you think about it, and with the Viking about storms and all of that, and we know there's Loki, so you think of Thor
Nami.
and Odin. Yeah. So it's like Nami as well. So I really hope. Like I said, I don't care about NL if he comes to a story or not, but I want his storyline, his information, the stuff that he, the stuff he discovered, why he wanted to go to the moon, comes back relevant, because that was so interesting.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the NL stuff for a while. And again, we all love NL, or at least most of us do. A lot of us want to see him come back. And like, I'm very self-aware when it comes to that. I don't want to be biased in one direction or another. But like, the truth of it is, as you said, his big dream and passion was to go to the moon. He goes there and it's completely barren. So it's like, just going off that, I feel like if you wanted to go to your dream home and then it was empty, it would make sense for you to be like, yo, screw this, I'm going back. Nothing was here. And like, you could argue that the Automatus was there, but like, other than that, like, what else is there? Like, there's no resources, no water, no trees, nothing. Like, Oda could pitch this in a way where it's like, all right, he wanted to go to the moon, nothing's there besides these robots, and he built this army. So he's like, all right, well, I came here for nothing. I guess just these robots. I'm going back home and I'm taking over. Like, I think Oda could spin it that way and it could be very smooth.
It looked kind of like that towards the end of the cover story as well. Like, he was like, right, I'm good, let's go. But yeah, you can't just stay there forever. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like logistically, no natural resources. Like, I feel like they made that a big point. So that's like, again, like how you're kind of pitching it, where it's like less of a reason to stay.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, let's not lie. I do feel like if he comes to the story, he will become I'll say this, with everything you talk about the government and the power source, NL, just by existence, having the Gorogoro no Mi, he would be a target. I mean, imagine what they can do with his Delphid.
Yeah, he's gonna break the
Yo,
internet, for sure.
this makes me so happy because I put that video out a long ass time ago when we first heard about the ancient energy.
Yeah.
And my argument was electricity, bro. I appreciate this.
Yeah, no
It's
worries.
definitely,
No
like,
worries. I'm good.
the more I look into electricity, the more I realize how significant it is. And like, personally, if we're gonna get a gender on it, then I'd say like, I think Pangea, Kev and I talk about this a bit, like, is a supercontinent, and Uranus may be, like in the murals, we see two different celestial bodies. We don't just see the moon, we see something else as well. I think that's Uranus, and Uranus is electric, and it struck like a big lightning strike into the supercontinent to maybe break it up, or I don't know, to destroy the ancient kingdom. But I think electricity will come into it again. I don't think it's just going to be the flame. I think it'll be water, flame, electric, like, yeah, and then maybe will might be the super secret one. But,
it's like,
Sorry.
Hold on. I just realized I had the stream open with the volume on. I was like, whoa, that was confusing.
Happens to me sometimes.
So like, I'm a big fan of like deep diving into theories and like pulling out the magnifying glass and like finding all these little connections and stuff. But then I also try to look at theories and like these ideas from like a simple lens. I want to see like if there's a way that like Oda can pitch an answer to a mystery with the option or like the ability for everyone to understand it. And I feel like when it comes to the ancient energy source being electricity, you could do that. Like, NL was on the moon, and on the cover it explicitly stated using energy, the ancient city was powered. And like right there is just, it feels so simple because it's energy, like how Vegapunk stated it to be. And then it's being used on an ancient city, which again, Vegapunk stated this to be some kind of ancient energy. So like that kind of like line of logic feels so simple, and it's like very difficult to even argue against it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And we also
I've
have
always
like
said,
Tsukimi there as well, which is a weird one. But yeah, sorry.
and I've
please carry
said this because I've ever recently I'm you know, but I've always said it that basically if you look at the Logias, especially those 4 Logia users that Luffy couldn't defeat pre-time skip, Kizaru, Kainu, Smoker, and Aokiji, they all seem to represent one of the state of matters, you know, solid, liquid, gas, air, gas slash, and the plasma, the 4th one. And if you look at King's last attack, that laser attack he did in the anime, you think about it, it looks like the fire went, you know, from fire to actual plasma. And it was very similar to one of Kizaru's attack with the rings, where he does the same star thing. So I do feel like there is this thing with some energy, and I think the Goro and the mirror might also be, but I think the Gospel of Fire and the Goro it doesn't have one usage. I think the application is limitless in the world of One Piece. And we see that with King. King went from a fire move to something closer to Kizaru, who is more plasma. You know?
Yeah, I definitely think it's electricity. I actually posted the panel in the VC. It says energy surges into the ancient city. So like that sentence right there already shows that electricity is an ancient energy source. But another thing I'll also toss in, because I really like this topic and I find it to be so interesting, is like on Egghead, when they were talking about the ancient energy, they were referring to that giant robot that Luffy wanted to get inside of. And when they were in the Viz, I like triple check this, they called that giant robot on Egghead a mechanical soldier. And all of those robots, automatas that we saw on the moon, they were mechanical soldiers. They were literally in war, which is what it said on the cover story. And like, if you looked at the ones that was like surrounding NL, one of them had American war armor, one of them had Japanese war armor, one of them had Russian war armor, and then I think like one of them was like a gladiator. So like by definition, the automatas with NL were mechanical soldiers, much like the one that was on Egghead Island. And if those guys are mechanical soldiers like the one on Egghead Island, and we literally saw them powered up by this ancient energy, then it just makes so much sense that the ancient energy source is electricity. And that's why we never see that in the One Piece world. Like literally Oda gave us a cyborg in the Straw Hat crew, and he's powered by cola, not even electricity. He's powered by soda. So like to me, like I would be shocked if this isn't the case, and like I'm not gonna be disappointed, but like it just feels so obvious.
We are kind of seeing like real world stuff being brought up, like suggested that maybe the One Piece world before the One Piece world was a bit more like Earth or something. So yeah, and obviously electricity is huge in the real world. So, but just to jump on what you're saying, and by the way, we don't have to move topic. We can talk about this all day if you want. In the murals, right? So in the cover story, we see that there's a diagram of them taking stuff out of the automata, right? Out of the stomach, it's through a hole. When they lay on the bed, they're like operating on them, the sky people, right? Who live on the moon. Now, when we see automata, other than that, we see absolutely zero ridges, right? Like we only see, like they are one unit. Right, the ones that Tsukimi bought were dressed, but the ones on the moon don't have any orifices. The electric just goes and then zaps them all and charges them up. And Vegapunk said the exact same thing about the mech giant, that he didn't know how it was fueled because there was no holes in it to like put fuel inside it. So I think it's a very plausible option. It was called a mech giant, which, you know, Iron Giant vibes. Yeah, and it would tie in, I think, because for some reason, the mech, the automata on the moon are like frozen. Like they're, like, I don't know why, but they're just all frozen, which is kind of what we see with like the Marijois freezer and very ancient kingdom vibes. Like, so yeah, I do think there's a ton of ties there between the automata and the mech giant on Egghead. I think that's interesting for sure.
Just to throw in on what Threevil said, actually, when he said about electricity empowering the ancient kingdom, it made me think of the golden city of Sandora. Like, there's a reason they coated everything in gold. Gold is one of the most conductive metals in the universe.
Oh,
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you said that, they powered it by that electricity. What if that's why they coated it in gold? Maybe Shandora was a remnant of the ancient kingdom, and the ancient kingdom was also kind of like a city of gold.
yes.
And use the heat. Remember Enel used the heat of his
Yes.
devil fruit to reform his gold staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And like
that's a good
it also
point. Yeah.
plays into the character of Enel and like his whole god complex. Like imagine if his fruit kind of like maybe there's a will in it, but that's a whole different conversation. Maybe there's some kind of will or personality that added to Enel's true nature, and like that person who had it in the far past, them having this electricity devil fruit, the Goro Goro or whatever it's called. They were one of the people that were like running certain areas. Like they were the person that was able to like turn on the electricity for this city, turn on the electricity for that country, and like they grew this complex because the whole world, or at least part of the world, was based off of electricity. Like, there's so many ways you could spin it. It's so interesting.
Yeah. You had me cooking for a second when you said that, man. I was like, wait a minute, gold is highly conductive.
And there's an SBS where Oda, when he talked about certain devil fruits that the Straw Hat would have, for those who don't have one, Nami was said so she would have the Goro Goro no Mi, and she does have Zeus, so there might be a twist of Nami and the way she uses thunder.
Yeah, maybe. She might be able to like charge up the like Golden City or something like that.
And there are like 5-6 Vegapunks there. One trader, right as we know right now. So what if one of them can't see Nami using his ability? Given it, why don't you do that instead?
Yeah, it is like it's pretty nutty with the whole like Enel having such a strong god motif, and then Wano seems to be where Joy Boy was prophesied to return, and that's the city of gold. So it is interesting. Like the gold stuff is spicy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Enel, dude, he's goated, dude. I'm sorry. I know people are probably bored of him at this point, but the day he comes back, there'll be tears of joy.
I think we're all ready.
On the moon.
Week, palms are sweaty. Vomit on a sweater already. Mom spaghetti. Get it?
Yeah. Whoa! Copyright. You can't do that.
It was under 5 seconds, so I can.
Okay. Yeah. Double times right.
I was gonna say there's something that always bothers me. You know how. I also don't think it's a coincidence that the first character that has a god complex, and it seems that we're talking about power source with his devil food, literally it's called the Goro Goro no Mi. The only word we have of Goro is Gorosei. Like I feel like he specifically chose a wording that he could do a poem with the Gorosei. Like not saying that he's a former Gorosei, but there's a connection lore with both with the Gorosei and the Goro no Mi maybe.
It's
and
strange
Luffy, who has the sun god fruit, is naturally immune to it. Sorry, I'm finished. Like it's weird. Like it's not a coincidence. Yeah. It's not a coincidence. It's to be all connected.
That's a good point. I've always wondered if like Enel inherited the will of the fruit somehow because Enel doesn't have wings. It's weird. And we don't really know too much about the origin. Something I've looked tirelessly over for years and I've realized it's not in there, is we don't actually know how he knew to build the Arc Maxim. We just knew he got these dudes to build it. And like, then he knew, it might seem a bit stupid because the moon's pretty big, but then he knew how to go to the Veriverse and stuff like that. I've always wondered how he knew all that stuff. If it just came with the power of the fruit, or if he, I don't know, read something maybe, or yeah, he knows some information.
Maybe it ties into Burka because we don't know a lot about Burka. Maybe when Yarouge actually becomes useful to the storyline, we'll learn more about that.
Oh yeah,
man. It's weird.
It is.
Yeah, because we need to know where he got that idea going to the moon, because it's until right now it's still niche. I haven't heard anyone else, like, unless if I forgotten a filler or a side character who talked about it, but no one made his end goal to go to the moon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was doing it in like in sort of tribute to his people. He's saying, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
Is it's like that's where I belong. Blah blah blah. Strangely
if it
similar to the
wasn't-
celestial dragons and their like
Yeah.
idea of being gods.
Yeah, man. It's
But
like,
yeah,
Enel's a very interesting
so-
character. He's a very interesting character.
Yeah,
in most
definitely.
regards.
Before we move on from Anel, then, when do you guys, Shriva, we'll start with you. When do you think if he does come back, when do you think it's likely, realistically going to happen?
Yeah.
We there?
I think he's
Can you hear me?
he's muted up. I don't know if he can
Oh.
hear you or not.
No, it's okay. He's probably going to the bathroom or something. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
he must be
right,
quickly
what,
AFK. No worries.
I
No worries,
got
no
you.
what
worries.
we'll do
How's
is,
everyone doing in chat? We doing good today? I love you all.
yeah,
Yeah.
Shout out to
yeah.
the chat.
How is?
Yeah,
what's
shut
good? I was never left. Yeah. What? Is there any questions in the chat or anything before we move on? Is there anything you want to shout out, Coob, or anyone? Like not channel-wise, I mean in the chat. You can
And
plug your
listen,
stuff, right?
honestly, they're spinning between each other. They're talking about. Yeah, they're talking about the cover stories. Elbath. Oh, that's interesting. Someone, Will of Dreams said, Elbath, Eltor, which is interesting. Eltor was, was Enel's ability, the attack, if I remember correctly.
That is
Ooh.
interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
when we were saying stuff about Burka and the Tree of Life, or the tree going up all the way to Burka or whatever, it made me think of the Norse mythology belief of the Tree of Life. I think it's like Yggdrasil or something like that.
Yggdrasil. Yeah.
Yggdrasil, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
like that's what I thought when we were going there. So that is interesting with the.
What is it? 9 realms? Is Yggdrasil the 9 realms or is it 12?
Yeah,
Well-
connects to 9 realms.
9 rounds.
Okay,
Yeah, I
9.
didn't know, so I was just guessing.
And
Yeah,
actually,
there's a lot of them.
But
since
it would
we have
make sense
Shubal here,
thematically
Oh,
for
sorry.
him to come back in Elbath. Are we gonna get Inaru next arc, y'all?
Yeah, I was asking Triva, like Lucas is saying, because I was asking you before we smoothly moved on because you were muted. Do you like if you do think he comes back? Realistically, when do you think Oda will do it?
Egghead, and I know it sounds biased because it might seem like, oh, you just want him back as soon as possible. Like, I swear it's not that. It's like the whole ancient energy thing.
Next chapter.
Next
Yeah, okay.
chapter, he better if he's not coming back in 1089, I'm dropping OP.
The
By
fleet
YouTube.
pulls up, Inaru drops from the sky, wipes out the whole siege. That's the twist. That's the incident.
Because like at first, I think like people might have had the impression that like I made the whole ancient energy source to cope with the idea that NL might not come back. But like I worked backwards to that. Like I was really trying to figure out what the ancient energy source was, and then I came to the conclusion that it was electricity. And then I was like, okay, well, if I feel this way, maybe NL comes back. So that was my line of logic.
Dude, you sold
Like
me
if
on-
people ever if people ever like struggle to like accept that their theory might not be right, like to be fair, as creators, that's definitely a big part of it. It's sometimes like you don't theorize that Anel's coming back, you find out that Anel's coming back. You know, you investigate it and it just becomes apparent. Well, that's just one example, but yeah, and the electrical energy is such a integral part of One Piece that's not really been touched on by the story that much. So I can totally understand how looking into it, you start to find these like inevitable parallels. Like, oh my god, like he is coming back, like, which I hope he is.
Actually, I do
Yeah.
have something because I did brought it up, I think a week ago with on TLA. Basically, as some who don't know in the chat, I live in Belgium, so French country. And actually, by talking to a
Mhm.
friend who's big into fashion, they talk about the Birkin bags. And when I did more research on it, which I think could have been inspiration for the name Burka, because actually the idea of Burka, which is it's a French luxury good, it was based off an a French English American actress. And
Mhm.
what's interesting about her, she's a singer, and apparently the name Birkin that they chose is because in France it's considered to be a symbol of wealth. It's connected to a symbol of wealth, and the brand that's behind it is Hermes, which we all know. Hermes is also in Greek lore as the god of the herald of the gods. He's also considered as the protector of the humans, and the one god that goes from the afterlife. So it goes sees Poseidon, Hades / Pluton in the underworld, and goes back, can go with the humans, and then go to Mount Olympus with the other gods. He's the one god, which find it very interesting. So I do feel like they might be a Hermes, Burka, where they come from.
The fire thief
especially in the
motif
sky.
the myth should come up soon, I think. Yeah. Like now we're talking about eternal flames and stuff like this, and also like I do think Frankie's energy cola will be relevant as well.
Yeah. And which I always find interesting is you think about it.
That was super interesting. Please continue.
Yeah. And I was gonna say the thing is, if you think about it, in every drawing of Hermes, he's considered to see with those feet, but with those wings where you can connect to a lot of those wings we've seen in Lunarian, we've seen in Skypian, with some of the Birkins, It's like I do feel like it's the wings could connect to Hermes itself, the lore of Hermes. Yeah. But that's good. Yeah, I can hear the wheels turning already. So yeah, I thought it was
the cog is spinning. Trust me.
Yeah.
You brought this out to us a week ago. Not stop thinking about it. So
he obsessed over it.
Yes.
Everything he says comes true eventually.
Hey, that man be cooking, bro.
Yeah, Coob's Usopp on there. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, okay, cool, right. Like, let's move on from all the modern One Piece and let's like get into a bit more theory and whatnot. Is there anything free that you've seen recently that you're like that isn't your own, that you're like, okay, this is interesting, like anything that we should check out that we're not aware of?
That's a great question. It's usually like little tidbits of stuff, like fun fact type stuff that's not necessarily an entire theory. So like for an example, when Saturn was on the ship with Kizaru, apparently in the Japanese Raws, Kizaru was talking very nervous and offensive to the people on the ship, showing that like he's extremely stressed to be going to Egghead Island with Saturn. And I feel like that layer right there kind of adds to the seriousness. And like I feel like he's not going to be playing around, like he's not going to be toying with his food. He's going to be straight to the point. And like that might be something we should expect.
Straight to killing Saturn.
Yo, that'd be insane.
I totally agree about the tidbits as well. Like when I go on the wiki nowadays, the first thing I do is scroll to the bottom and look at the trivia. There's some crazy connections between characters, like when you look at all that stuff, like birthdays, like as I say, if you look at Dragon, Ace, Robin, and O'Hara, and then you think about Luffy and his journey, I believe personally that Joy Boy's from, well, I don't think he was born in O'Hara, but I think he was brought up in O'Hara, like probably taken in as a war-torn kid. But that's just from looking at tidbits and stuff, and you start to build some pretty crazy stuff, like. But in terms of actual new theories, what about Coob, Lucas, Fritz? Either of you seen any, or the chat, have you seen any new particular theories that are popping? Because I'm trying to think now as well.
I don't even lie, man. I've been so wrapped up in this live action shit that like, I can't even remember the last One Piece theory I watched. Probably like 2 weeks ago. I watched one of Hidden's videos.
Fair. Good stuff as well. Friday, welcome to Linker's stuff at Hidden's channel and whatnot, like high production and whatnot. Big ups to Hidden.
I will take this time while Cube is thinking about spicy theories he's watched recently to say 3-Day has a new theory video coming out on the TLA channel here in the next month or so. And it is right on the topic of all this. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I'm pretty sure she solved the name of the ancient king. Pretty sure. And the narrator is a handsome man. I'm just
Well, I mean,
gotta plug myself.
You gotta do the plug.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a busy time for theory because there's so much, like so many reveals now, right? Like, I mean, the Lily stuff. I'm not sure if you noticed, 3, but when the silhouette of Lily was shown in the background, the speech bubble was put over her crown, so we couldn't actually see the crown. And then when we saw the Denden that Emu was using, which I've been waiting for many years, it was it had a long crown. So, like with all these reveals, yeah, as I say, it's time to get busy. And so, sorry, it's super windy. I'm dying. So yeah, what about your sort of? I don't want to bait out your new stuff, but what sort of theories are you looking towards? Like what's on the brain, or what's cooking, simmering, let's say, rather than cooking, in Threeble's brain at the moment?
Probably I put out this video. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I put out a video about Saturn having some form of a bison devil fruit, whether it's like a bison minotaur or some exotic godly bison. That's been weighing on my mind heavily, just based off of the cover at 858, where Luffy was headbutting a bison on an American football field. The football looked like an egg.
Yeah.
Like there is so many. Yeah, there's so many details and facts and like evidences I found for it that I didn't even throw in the video, but that's something that like I'm putting like a lot of my chips on, like especially when you look at the thumbnail for it. I guarantee you Saturn is going to look very similar to it.
I've seen a lot of the parallels, like as I said, I saw you post on Twitter, and I've seen a couple bits of your videos I skipped through because I haven't had a chance to watch anything this weekend, but yeah, that's spicy. And like, as I say, with that, not flashback, but like side flash or whatever you call it, we saw a lot, like we saw all of their forms, right? So you can probably do that for a few of them. Like we seen, I think it's Valkyrie or whatever his name is. He looked like a bird, and then he kind of looks like Ganfall. So you can start theorizing that maybe he's from Skypiea, maybe the previous leader and stuff like that. So, and the shadow looked like Ra, but yeah, there's a lot of spice going on with them lot.
I mean, if you think about it, the one castle that's in the Pangea Castle, there's a Drum Island Castle, and the current ruler of Drum Island has a bison devil fruit, literally. So I do think that
is Coop quiet for anyone else, or is it just me?
He sounds normal, and I have him at 100%.
Okay, so maybe a little bit.
But I will correct him. It's not Drum Island anymore. It's the Sakura Kingdom, actually.
Yeah, Sakura Kingdom, exactly, Sakura Kingdom. So yeah, I do like. I when you dropped that tweet, I think I don't know when it was the first time you dropped the tweet. Oh shit, I didn't even catch that. Like I never realized the bison agenda. So yeah, it does make sense that he could actually have a bison-esque or esque, devil fruit, mythical zone.
Yeah. Exactly, some kind of mythical exotic bison. Yeah, definitely. And I like that you mentioned that, because I feel like a lot of times in the story, Oda has like these test runs or has like these characters, events, and devil fruits that are like minuscule, but it's meant to set up something greater. Like one of the best examples of this is NL compared to Emu.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about microcosms, right?
Yes, exactly. That's the perfect word. Yes.
Yeah, so like people were like, "Oh, Skypiea's mid," and I was there at the time, reading it like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" Like, now it's all come back around, and it's like, "Oh shit."
I've never understood that take. Skypiea is amazing.
And the anime, I can understand why the anime like made it unbearable for people, but in the manga, I thought it was spectacular. Also, before I forget, another theory that I'll toss in here is Bonnie's fruit being named Toki Toki no Mi.
Oh my days!
Yeah,
the spice, wow. The melange. That's sick. Well, like we talk a lot, like who particularly talks a lot about Toki's name and the onomatopoeia and how that works, and for it to actually be Bonnie's, because it's interesting. We don't know if, like, some people speculate Bonnie's ability isn't necessarily a fruit; it's just some special ability or something. But yeah, it's definitely like Toki. People speculate the same stuff about that. So that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Like,
yeah,
a lot.
I'm under the thought
So
process.
awakened Bonnie can maybe travel through time, you think?
Yes, exactly. Because if you, I hate to interrupt Lucas. I think it was Lucas that was talking, right?
Yeah.
Lucas.
Like when you look at everything Bonnie does, it's through like time dilation. Like she will make a lock rust because she's aging it. She'll make someone a baby because she's lowering the time scale of it. She'll make someone older because she's raising like the time scale of it. Like everything we've seen from her power or at least 95% of it is regarding time. So when you look at something like
Not
the
age.
ripe fruit, it feels like it's just too much of a drag to have 3 fruits so similar to each, and it would just be more of an Otis casual pattern to have 2 double fruits in regard to time, which again would be the ripe fruit and then the Toki no Mi. And like also another way of looking at it is like, why would traveling through time be the base power of a fruit? I feel like that would be like a ridiculous base power, and it seems more fitting if that was an awakening version of the fruit, or an awakening power of the fruit. So when you look at Bonnie's powers and everything she's done, that doesn't strike me as awakening. That strikes me as like base. So when you look at Bonnie and Toki together, it's just like how you said it. I feel like Bonnie has displayed base tools from the double fruit, and Toki displayed awakening tools of the double fruit.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
Because the one thing I'll say to people, I always like that theory. And when we saw Bonnie holding a lightsaber on her hand, yeah, she faded afterwards, but the fact that she was holding a lightsaber, you think about lightsaber, light years, all of those that connects to time. It did to me that it's not about age, it's about time. Her fruit is all about time.
Well,
yeah,
dude, this is genius. That is genius. Like what's her dad's power? Her dad's power is
space.
like it's like okay, yeah, and memories. It's like okay, so yeah. So rather than changing age, she might be time dilating, which is fascinating because with Lucky Roo, I've been writing about this recently. With Lucky Roo, we see him eat a lot, right? And it's stated, I think, in SBS because he moves so fast. Luffy, Kid, and well, Luffy and Kid show aspects of life return when they eat loads of food and they use absorption. And Bonnie is constantly eating, which would make sense that like she's not aging someone, and that's why she has to eat. She's eating because like Lucky Roo goes so quick, she goes through time at different speeds, if that makes sense, or like she casts different time on different people. So yeah, that is absolutely fascinating, dude. Like, and to be honest, I am a little bit sold already.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, sorry. What I was gonna say though is, I don't necessarily think it's the exact same as Toki's fruit. I don't think it's the Toki no Mi, but I think it's a model type of it, and focusing on that diet in time. So what you're saying, I agree with 100%. I think once she awakens, it won't be just affecting objects, but the actual flow of time as well. So almost like oh my goodness. I'm trying to, like how the magma fruit is a more powerful version of the Mira. The whatever fruit Bonnie has will be a more powerful version of Toki's. It'll just take an awakening, and then she'll be able to travel not only forward in time, but backwards as well. Because the dialogue is key to it all.
My thing though is like I feel like backwards time travel can be very touchy because it's already risky that like Oda introduced forwards time travel, but once you throw in backwards time travel, like you'll eventually have like multiple One Piece plot lines and like multiple One Piece timelines, and I'm not exactly sure if Oda would want to go down that road, but that might just be my bias.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. Like I completely agree with like the concept should not be used, but unfortunately we have seen 800 years. You know, the Egghead incident and the God Valley incident and the Freeing the Giants by Carmel incident. They were 38 years apart. There does seem to be time as a factor, and if he keeps it enclosed within the 800-year bracket, like the Void Century to the present day, I'm okay. If he can manage that, I'm okay with it. I don't want people like going back in time and if we move this, if we move this boat over here, then in the future everyone will be dead. Like it's just I don't want that.
Yeah, that could be very sensitive and touchy.
It would have to be used sparingly.
Just real quickly. Sorry, Lucas. Sorry to interrupt. My battery's going to die any second, so I'm going to have to shoot out at this point. I'll jump in chat in like 5-10 minutes when I get back to mine, and I'll plug it in and blah blah blah. But thank you, Threeville, for coming. Big love to you, and big love to the rest of you, and big love to chat. And I'll let you guys.
Likewise, man.
I'll catch you on the post.
I love
it.
All
right, bro.
Love you too, Lucas. These nuts.
Yeah, man. Great having you here, bro.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. Yeah, now that guy's fucking gone, no. Oh, goodness.
But you know what? Actually, since we we also, you're lucky, Silver. We have our live action enthusiast and passionate master, Lucas. So I do feel like, pivot, on how do you feel about the live action now that I think we got last week the newest trailer. So like,
yeah, at first, like off the initial trailer, I was like, it seems a little moody. It seems a bit barren. I don't really like the atmosphere. But when I saw this second one, it blew me out of the water. I watched it like 25 times. Like put my public perception aside, put like the whole content creation aside. Like as a One Piece fan, like that, it got me pumped. Seeing that second trailer with Arlong, Luffy kicking through the top of Arlong Park, all of that, the bounty posters. I'm like, as a One Piece fan, I'm genuinely excited to see this, and I can't wait to, actually give it a chance and see everything that they end up adding or removing. Like, I'm just ecstatic.
I've already started posting screenshots into the chat.
Yeah, Lucas has been obsessed with it. Yeah, I agree. And the doubtful abilities, the Bar and the Gomi effect are really good.
I was so surprised with Buggy's Chop fruit effects. Like the Bar looked so good, man. I was so worried about it. I thought they might try to do the Jim Henson route and like make it like little pieces of puppeteering on a black screen or something, but they killed it.
Yeah, and I know like a lot of people were afraid of how they were gonna depict the Gomu Gomu no Mi with CGI. In my opinion, I think it looked great.
Yeah. The first time I saw that little plug to Desness the Dwarf, I reacted on his channel to the trailer. The first time I saw the Gatling, I lost my mind, man. I was like, oh my god. Because rubber is such a hard power to convey. Like we saw it with the Fantastic Four films and stuff like that. It looks tacky, but they nailed it.
I must say, like, I've been seeing it, but the more I see the Marines outfits, the more I'm sold at, like, they're gone all out. I think the Marines outfits look great. They are blowing me away right now.
But Threevil, if I could direct you here, I've already started breaking down this trailer. Like I watched it maybe 19 times the night it came out. I've watched it at least twice a day in 0.25 times speed because I'm trying to do a breakdown of it. Yeah, I've gone all out on it. But I sent 2 screenshots in there, and that is me finding who I believe to be Smoker in the first one and Child Buggy in the second.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
the
blue hair, that would be Child Buggy, right?
Yeah. We didn't get to see his full face, and I guarantee there's a reason they didn't show his full face. Is because he has that red ass nose.
Damn, that's interesting. I literally would have never fucking spotted that if you didn't post that.
When I was watching the trailer, probably on like my 40th watch of it, I realized that the Logtown scene that we see at the very beginning is obviously Roger's execution. But then when we see that Marine woman running, who a lot of people are saying that's Tashigi, I don't think it's Tashigi at all. That is not Roger's execution. That is Luffy's execution at Logtown. Well, his false execution. And you can tell because the Marines that are standing on either side trying to control the crowd are entirely different from that first shot in the trailer. They just cleverly edited it together to make it look like it was all the same scene. But what are your thoughts on Arlong, my man?
Arlong, that's an interesting one because, like, part of me is like, this looks wacky, but then the other part of me is like, I don't really care too much. Like, it like if I was in charge of decorating him and designing him, I would have did it way worse. I don't think it's that big of an issue for me. I'm willing to let it grow onto me.
See, I won't lie, man. After watching the trailer as many freaking times as I have, I am sold on Arlong. My only complaint is he's not particularly big enough. I feel like they could have used CGI, kind of Thanos'd him up a little bit, made him a little bit bigger. But I think Mackenzie Belcher III, I think is the actor's name. I think he's going to do a great job. I was sold on his voice immediately, but I see a lot of people, the main complaint with him is he's not big enough. But the fact they went practical in general for the Fishman is something to applaud, because it's not something you see in film or TV shows very often anymore.
Yeah, I try not to be too critical because like this is like a whole different medium with it being live action, and I don't want to come off as like that one person that's like, oh well, in the manga, like I don't want to do that, you know. And like in regards to Arlong's height though, I could understand why people would be bothered and why they wouldn't like it, but me personally, like I don't really care so much. Like I just want to watch it and see like, okay, is this paced well? Am I enjoying this? Am I having fun? I don't want to look into it too deeply because I know like I'm a huge OP fan, and then I also have like that content creator lens. I'm just trying not to be a little too critical.
Yeah, because this one, I'm not gonna lie, it seems like the whole community, the whole One Piece community, thinks that this one might be the one to finally break that live action curse, man.
I hope so. I think it has a good chance.
I do too. Cube, do you have any thoughts on the live action, my man? He's muted up. I'm about to bully him.
Spam ping him.
Yeah, just spam.
Yeah, sorry. It's because my neighbor is making some crazy sound next door, so I was muting up.
yeah.
But for me, I will say something because, as you know, Furious Mind, as we know, there was said stuff like the team of the live action, at least the writers, basically knows the entire storyline. And I always said that the fact that Garp is introduced in that chapter, in that day, I wonder if we might find out later on that canon-wise, Garp was there, and there's a reason why we never seen it. And it made me think, people like to compare Kobe and Garp, but in terms of personality, we always compare also Smoker to Garp. And you know, when Luffy was in Lockdown, when Smoker was about to catch Luffy, who stopped him? Dragon. And we've seen Dragon in the beginning of the live in the trailer. So I'm wondering if like maybe canon-wise, if it's like it's something Oda kind of hinted to them. What if it's 22 years ago when Dragon was leaving and you see that moment where Garp is running away? What if it's really canon? And instead, Dragon and Garp interacted and no one knows about it. The power to Lockdown.
Are you talking about when Garp?
Yeah, because I found it. Yeah, it's very interesting. They showed Garp there, and there was a struggle. He was moving forward. You know, what if there was something happening, and we know that there's Mori and the Flamingo and Crocodile there. You know what I mean? Like, what if Mihawk as well? So what if like something also happened on the day they never showed it, and Garp instead, the one person that he catches isn't any of them, but he basically the reversal. So of Dragon stopping Smoker, when Dragon was leaving, Garp catching him and turns around and sees his son. And then there was maybe a discussion or interaction. That's what my brain went to.
Yeah, because I'm wondering that too. If Garp is going to show up at Logtown, maybe like right after Luffy's false execution, because we see that scene in the trailer of his ship shooting cannonballs at the Going Merry. So I'm thinking if he chases them into the Grand Line and just kind of lets Luffy escape like he did in Enies Lobby, because things are going to get changed. I mean, we see Arlong on the Baratier, but I'm okay with that. My thoughts on that are, if you're gonna, Arlong was the big bad in general. So to plant the seed for him earlier than just going straight into Arlong Park, that's genius. That's good storytelling, especially for the live action medium.
Man, there's a lot of opportunities that they have with this, and like especially since the manga is way further ahead of the live action now compared to the manga, how far it was ahead of the anime when they were at that point of the anime, if you follow me.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have way more context to the story, so they're able to do what you guys are saying. They could plant those seeds earlier, which would only benefit watchers. And they could even plant seeds and little ideas of hockey like much earlier on. I think that's another that's more room for improvement.
Yeah, and that gets me excited for the Lord of the Coast scene more than anything, because we may actually see Shanks use actual Conqueror's Hockey instead of just the stare down, or like something alluding to Conqueror's Hockey.
By the way, I thought that Lord of the Coast looked great. Like, it looks so nice and cool.
Amazing. The details, it looks more impressive than the anime one. If you think about it, it looks more impressive.
You're talking about planting seeds and stuff like that. Did you notice the Wanted posters that they showed?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cavendish is there. And when we meet Cavendish in Dressrosa, what does he say to Luffy? I was on my way to be the most well-known of our generation of pirates, and because of you and what you did in the East Blue, you took that away from me. So now we get Cavendish his picture at least in the East Blue. So if they get to Dressrosa and he says that to Luffy, it's gonna just make so much more sense because we've seen him already.
You know, I appreciate that you point that out, but I was just thinking something. In that screenshot you posted, it says spread disease, world government. I wonder if that has something to do with the lead disease.
Yep.
Maybe that they're sprinkling something in there. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Matt Owens, the guy that's running the thing, he straight said, you know, pay attention because we've dropped so many Easter eggs that for new fans are going to intrigue them and make them wonder about them as mysteries. But for old fans, it's going to be like, holy shit, that connects this to this to this to this to this. So I'm very, very excited for it. I'm hoping to God it's good. It looks like it's going to be good. If it isn't, I'm purging a lot of my content.
What I was really scared on how they were going to connect one island to the other, and I actually, when I saw the Along Pirates being in Baratsé, I realized there's an advantage of this Blue Arc. Like, if you think about it, if they connect islands that way, like the enemy of the next island appearing on the previous one, it would make sense if you think about Shelltown and Surf Village, when the villain of Shelltown is Captain Morgan, and the villain of Surf Village is Kuro, and they both share the same flashback. Yeah. Captain Morgan was the Marine that brought the fake Kuro and then got that promotion, who he later become Captain Morgan.
Ooh.
So yeah, so I do feel like, I think they're gonna do a thing like more episodic, like they're going to, even though they weren't there, it's gonna make more sense in the live action to connect those islands together. Hence why they're able to do 8 episodes of the East Blue Arc.
And all it would take is for Morgan to say, I'm the man that caught Captain Kuro or something like that during Shellstown, and then we see the actual Captain Kuro later. That's all it takes, one line like that. And
yeah,
it expands so much.
Shellstown appears before, so imagine we just found out, okay, he captured the guy, then you find out the real reason in the flashback, the hypnosis, and you're saying, oh, that's great. You know, that's that type of like, and I'll say this, the showrunner, the head showrunner, Steve Maeda, he's behind shows like Lost, The X-Files, some of the shows at CSI, and in most of those shows where he was writer, it was shows were known for what, Fringe? They were known for their, their ability to use suspense and mystery, you know?
Yes.
So I think he can build on that. He's good at that.
That's a key vibe you gotta bring to One Piece, no matter what medium it's in.
Yeah. Be able to create mystery. That's what Oda does all the time. Just Oda teases us 800 chapters before he talks about it.
I can't wait to see Buggy in the live action and how he's depicted and everything that they end up doing with him.
Have you ever seen the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
No.
The Marvel show?
Yeah.
The actor plays a character for 2 seasons there, and when he was cast, I said he's a perfect Buggy. He basically played this goofy, mad, like very intelligent person, but he had the ability to say something very smart, and when someone would say something like dumb, he would talk very smart, blah, 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 and he would go, like very dumb. Like he had this ability to make stuff very goofy, and he's just that hilarious. So when the actor was cast as Buggy, I said, ooh, he might really be good for Buggy. He has that ability.
Who did he play in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It was Deacon, wasn't it? Wasn't that the character's name or something like that?
Yeah, Deke Shaw. Yeah, Deke Shaw. He played Deke Shaw.
Yeah. And Matt Owens also wrote a lot of the episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or worked on it at least. So
yeah.
I'm very fucking excited for Buggy. I did not mean to curse. We've done so well this stream. But
no worries, man. No worries.
Right out the gate with me. But I am excited. I'm really excited to see Stephen Ward as Mihawk after they teased him in the trailer. Like, woo!
The eyes, man. The eyes were amazing.
Yeah. Maybe they're gonna turn red. Maybe.
So, what's your guys' favorite like casting in the live action?
Mine's got to be Inaki, man. I think he embodies Luffy. I've been following him on TikTok since they announced his casting, and that kid is just on all the time, just like Luffy is.
Is his brain also made of rubber?
Yes. I think so. But yeah, I'd say either Inaki or, even though we haven't seen much footage of him, Jacob Romero Gibson, that guy too, he carries Usopp energy out the wazoo.
That's what I was gonna say too. I think the Usopp one is my favorite.
Yeah, I won't lie. He looks. I'll say this. For me, it's between two. You guys listed some of them I like, but I think the other two I think also good on the list is the Sanji character, because I've been following on Instagram the cast, and I feel like him giving extra training to become a chef because you're a really great cook to get better, and then his whole thing was training, and he saw his training, and basically when he was finishing his classes at night, who would come to his place. We saw this stuff. The Nami actress, the Usopp actor, and the Luffy actor. They were all there, and they were even doing some content around that. And then the Zoro. I'm sorry.
Zoro's great. I
Was the
think you
two-
always didn't need to mention him sooner.
Yeah, and like even that. I'm sorry. That second trailer, where that slide.
Oh.
Damn, that was clean. That was that was cool as fuck.
rock
I was
wall
like, damn. Yeah.
The rock run, taking out Fishman at Arlong Park, Sanji coming in with the kick. Like, that was such a clean action shot, man.
Yeah.
Good.
That speed up.
So who's I want to see Hotshot.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Dying to see Hotshot. Especially because we got 2 in Kurobi in the trailer as well.
Yeah.
I want to see
I won't lie,
Hotshot real bad.
Kurobi's face eyes kind of look freaky, so I kind of want to see them more, But it was also in the movement, because if you do the screen grab, you're seeing him in the movement. You don't actually see him on the standstill. At one point, but you cannot see him clearly. So I'm very curious about all of that.
I don't think I
Yeah.
posted them in the Discord yet, but they did release some still images of Kurobi, and he looks fucking great. Like,
Okay.
He's got fins on his arms and everything.
Oof.
Woo!
I'm just, but I'm very curious about how the story will go, the characters. And I'm also wondering if what other character will be prematurely teased or introduced in the East Blue arc, because I think that we've seen Cavendish's body picture and Bellamy's body picture.
Yeah.
It could be like more instances, especially like you know what? I'm following the story. I want to see if they ever talk about stuff like events that happened a year before Luffy came, like the Punk Hazard incident, or those kind of stuff. Even like stuff they're describing, like still, like imagine there's an article saying, still mystery of that island that disappeared, that there was a big explosion a few years ago in the New World. And they were saying, oh, maybe they're talking about Punk Hazard. I'm really very curious about that because Matt Owens did tease us to follow all those breadcrumbs and Easter eggs.
Or even talking about, Ohara somehow, like, because it's not mentioned anywhere in the series before we get Robin's flashback. So just even having like a Marine say something about it and another Marine being like, shh, you're not supposed to talk about that, shh, or something like that. Like, it builds up that intrigue, and they have, like, Threeville was saying, they have so much at their disposal. They know so much about the story now that we didn't know when these arcs were first coming out. They and it's clear that they are utilizing that to their advantage.
Yeah, I agree.
I just
And,
pray that they have Gaimon. Please, please, please have Gaimon.
I think I don't think they'll do the whole Island of the Animals arc, right? But I do think that we'll get a small flashback of Buggy being on the island with Gaimon. And
Like, even if it's for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even just for a moment. And it's Oda stuck in a chest. And got a green afro on.
Like, how many of these are just going to be glimpses or full-on flashbacks? It's really hard to tell as well.
Yeah, that's why I feel like interesting. And I'll say this because I did tell the team, and I'll share it here with used people. I give a prediction of since we've seen that they go up to the barrel scenes, so it seems to be really like after lockdown as well. I said, you know what? I think the perfect way to tease it is they won't show Twin Cape. I think the last panel after they leave lockdown and you see that barrel scene is, I think they're just gonna show one character to tease the next season. And I thought the best character to tease like the next part of the story is they just show Vivi on screen, like the last few seconds, teasing her. Because it like we won't deny the whole. It's all pivoted around Vivi, so it would be the perfect way to tease the people who are just watching through the live action. Because we also have to realize that there are some people who have never read One Piece or have never seen the anime because it's too long, so they're going to start the One Piece adventures through the live action.
What about Laboon?
Yeah.
I want to see Laboon.
So yeah.
I was still
Laboon.
I want him to get stuck in a big whale, bro. They have
That's
to
it,
if
yeah,
they're
that's
going
how I
to
wanna-
be Vivi.
That would actually be the best way to show Vivi, is that them get stuck in Laboon and then Luffy's like, who are you? And it's just Vivi and Mr. 5, is it? No. Who's she with? Mr.
Wait, what's his name? Mr. 8? No, Mr. 9, maybe?
I thought it was
Fine.
8.
It is 8. Fritz would know. He was.
No,
he was the
Igaram is Mr. 8 with Miss Monday.
Oh,
Miss
yeah.
Monday and Mr. I think he was Mr. 7. No, Mr. 7 was previously. So I think he was like Mr. 9. Something like that.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to end it. So, let me ask this question to both of you then. Or all three of you, actually, now that Fritz is chiming in. If this is successful, how long do you guys see it going? Because it seems like they're adapting or not arcs, but sagas as a whole instead of going arc by arc.
Well, my problem is it's not I think they can go up to Alabasta, but it's going to be very hard as the whole, not the post-time skip part, but between Alabasta and the post-time skip, Like, are you going to do an entire season just with Skypiea?
They're gonna blow their
Or
entire
you're-
budget on Skypiea, bro.
Yeah, that's right. and then you have Marineford and then his lobby. Then you have Water 7 and Water 7 and his lobby. Then you have Impel Down Marine. Or also, like, that's something like, how are they going to be, if they're going to keep because Netflix likes to choose like a certain number of episodes and does it every season. So if they're starting with 8 episodes, I don't know how they're going to do that every time. So that's what I'm trying to see. And how many seasons can they do to, catch up to the story?
They're gonna have to have the Indiana Jones style stuff coming at them while they're on the river, the logs coming down, all the trap stuff. But then they're on a river of clouds. They're gonna blow their whole budget in the first 15 seconds.
It's sort of like, it's crazy when you think about it. But yeah,
I think they can do it. I think they can, especially if actually Threeville. How long do you think it goes before I continue?
The live action.
Yeah, like if it's successful, how long do you?
That's a really difficult question. Especially like it depends on how much they change the story. Like, I don't know if they mush arcs together. Maybe they even scrap certain arcs. I don't know. I mean, at least 2.
At least 2 seasons.
Yeah, it could literally be 10, 15, 20, but I feel like right now it might be at least 2, and then they'll be like, yo, this isn't working out.
I think it'll be all in the budget that keeps them from going any further, because it's not like they're doing something like the CW's Flash, where most of it is pretty simple and it's not over market for CGI. But then when you think about what they're gonna have to show in the One Piece world, it's gonna be ridiculous. And they're already in the positions where, like, if you got to consider how they talk about how often these guys in the CGI industry are overworked. I mean, they're gonna be pushing it.
Yeah, that's fair.
and I'll say this: we could say what you want, but if as they get more budget and they want to do the giant characters, okay, Dorian Broggy, okay, but I'm just saying this: I don't see Horus. Horus is going to be massively big, like big enough that he might not even be seen on screen at one point. You know what I mean? We might only see his legs where Luffy is, his ankles. So that's what I'm scared of. Is like as we go further in the story, we see bigger and bigger characters. So I want to see how they be able to maintain their CGI budget.
Yeah. Well, as it stands right now, season 1 is the most expensive television show of all time.
That's like wild to think about.
I could also see them doing one-off like live-action movies after they've cemented the season, and it's well received. If they cement the season, then having one-off movies that correlate around the story or in between the stories would make probably easier sense than doing everything.
That's actually what I'm thinking too. I think like say we get through season 1, it's a fucking banger, right? And then next year, instead of getting a full season, we get a Christmas special, and it's all of Drum Island. Or,
that's some fire.
You know what I mean? And then, like, with Thriller Bark, yes, it is an important arc, but you could fit that all into a movie.
Is it, though?
Make it a Halloween special.
Is it really,
yeah,
though?
Halloween.
Fritz, I will not tolerate this Thriller Bark slander anymore, okay?
Yeah, you'll have to tolerate it. I will force you to tolerate it.
Fritz is so method as a One Piece One Piece fan right now that for Fritz Schulabart, nothing happened there for him.
I was not vibing it, bro. It was like second to impale down a Marine forward, like all that effort put into what Luffy tried to do to save his brother, just to save him and him die, like that is just as equivalent as like Thriller Bark. There was nothing achieved there.
Except everything. Yeah.
That's a 15-second freaking scene versus the 30 episodes of nothing freaking happening that did any good for anybody.
That's yeah, Fritz did not like Thriller Bark, as everyone can tell.
Yeah,
I'm
no
happy I've
comment.
moved on. I'm happy I've moved on and I'm into the time skip now.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same thing with my least favorite arc, and it's not because it's bad. It's just overall, just my least favorite is Fishman Island.
Get out.
No, and I guess it's just I had so much props for that arc. It's an arc post time skip, and I liked it. But as we went in different arcs, I said, okay, as we did the arcs, I said, I do feel like it's for me the one that's a bit less in my score compared to the other ones.
I think the
But then,
anticipation, knowing that they're supposed to be going there for so long, and then once they finally get there, it's after literally gone through hell and 2 years later.
Yeah. And but then that's my favorite for Elbaf, if you think about it. Both Elbaf and Fishman Island, those arcs were teased for so long. So I really hope that Elbaf will be worth the anticipation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think so as
Not a
well.
good word.
Threevil, now that we're moving away from the live action, actually, one thing that none of us, I'm actually super surprised because all of us have talked about this in TLA so freaking much, but none of us brought up Garling one time during talking about the current events of One Piece. Not one of us brought him up. What were your Garling and his reveal, my man?
So I think he's been depicted pretty cool so far, even though it's been pretty limited.
Yeah.
I can understand why some people would be bothered and they feel like this is like a random thing, like Oda's just throwing them in there, no foreshadowing. I can understand why they'll feel that way, but I don't. I think it's fine. Like Oda doesn't have to reveal everything right off the bat. And the way I'm feeling about him is he's probably like a holy knight that's locked into Marie-Joie anyways. So it would explain why we haven't seen him on certain islands or whatever. But previous to Garling, I had a video arguing that Shanks was the son of a dead Gorosei member from God Valley, and it would explain why the Gorosei in Japanese spoke to Shanks with utmost respect. It would explain why in Japanese Sengoku used terms to refer to Shanks as higher authority than him. All sorts of reasons. Him just even being in the room of authority, him making Sengoku take responsibility for Marine for War, all those reasons. But when we saw Garling, I don't know if my perspective is shifting to the idea that Shanks is the son of Garling, or if I want to maintain my position and argue that maybe Garling is his uncle and that Shanks is the son of a dead Gorosei member. But regardless, with the introduction of Figurlin Garling, it does kind of cement my original theory that Shanks is the blood relative of a celestial dragon. Even if it's not the direct son of dead Gorosei, that was still a big part that he was blood connected to high-ranking celestial dragons.
Yeah, I won't even lie. When you dropped that video, I was sold immediately because I was already on kind of the same page. I was like, okay, this explains it. Shanks was at God Valley. He's a Figurlin. Figurlin, obviously, name carries some weight. There's got to be a reason he's in front of the guy. But then when you dropped that video, man, I was like, okay, this is it. He's right. He's right.
Yeah. One of the points I made that I really like is that, again, as you said, through One Piece Volume 4 Billion, as well as Film Red, it was heavily alluded that Shanks was the part of the Figurlin family. And Figurlin, I believe, comes from the phrase or the word figurando, or Figaro, which is a Spanish name. And if you look at all of the celestial dragon families, or at least some of them that we know of, they seem to derive from Spanish names. So that was another reason why I believe that Shanks most definitely came from a celestial dragon family, but more so a high-ranking celestial dragon family compared to Doflamingo, who came from Homing, this no-name celestial dragon.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, man. This is just, I love talking. Cube, what are your thoughts on Garling? I know I've heard your takes, but I want to hear some more spice now.
Listen, I won't lie to you. I love that theory of Swivel. it's a great theory, but also for bias because at that time, and I think I gave you a shout out to check out your video because we had just dropped my theory about God Valley is actually pre-timeskip Marineford. So you saying that it was Shanks, it makes so much sense if, you know, being a former Celestial Dragon, all of that. I said that island makes so much sense because it's the closest island to the Red Line, Pengia Castle. So if you have a place with holy knights, so yeah, I really like that that whole. And I'll say this: one of my theories that I like the most about you recently is the whole Pokemon thing because I never thought of it. Never thought of it. It's like really like I was like, oh shit, it's true. It's true.
Wait,
you know,
wait,
when you think about it.
What is the Pokemon? I don't think I've seen this one. So what's
Oh,
the
wait.
Pokemon?
He's gonna plug it. The Cereals plug it. It's a.
Basically, I have a video arguing that all 3 of the ancient weapons are going to be animalistic, and then I took it a little bit further, and I compared Shirahoshi, Pluton, and Shirahoshi, Pluton, and Uranus to Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza
Woo!
from Pokemon
Woo!
Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Oh, that's right. I'm watching that. The minute we get off this stream, I'm watching that.
It's honestly, I love those kind of theories because even if you don't agree, it's like my recent, like everyone go check my Garpus Rocks. Even if you don't believe me, I had fun making it because I made it so that there's so interesting parallels that it's not dumb, you know, like this interesting, and it got me thinking honestly. And then you think about some stuff, and I said, yes, Pokemon is from the 90s, but I'll say this. I'm finding a lot of parallels in Disney music. I'm working on a content with another content creator called Disney Piece. We're making, you know, work on the videos and the script right now. And if you listen to a lot of the best example is, and I've said that, Pocahontas, right? John Smith and Pocahontas in the Disney movie. It is literally the same storyline between Sabo and Dragon, with removing the love. Both meeting each other, both
Let's be real, the
questioning
love.
action. And then Sabo, a blonde-haired guy, wounded on a small ship. John Smith saying goodbye to Pocahontas, who Pocahontas always runs to the side of the wind. Dragon is known to always be on the side of the wind. Like, it is very, so I like that theory for that. It's that there was something niche about it that I liked, you know? So yeah, it's just fire.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's one of my favorites.
It's spicy, man. The stuff you were saying, sorry, Freebo, you go.
No, you're good. Shout out to Dax Sake, obviously, with the Pluton's a mole. I was thinking
Yes.
about that as well as like the mole that was in Gadatsu's cover story, and I was like, man, that looks a lot like Groudon. Like, imagine Pluton was a mole and he had like gave us like some Groudon vibes. Like, I just think that's so cool.
And it would make sense too. Oh, now I gotta watch the video because I'm sitting here doing parallels as well. I'm like, man, and then they can more land with the mole. Like, oh man, that's crazy good. I won't lie. When you guys were talking about earlier, I was laughing. I told Q, just because we're probably gonna be wrapping up here soon, and you were talking about like the East and the West, and like it's gonna be the battle between the East and the West. In my head, the reason I laughed is because I was like, well, the last time that the East fought the West unleashed the sun, but this time the East gets to unleash the sun.
Oh my god. You are messed
Ooh.
up.
But there's a parallel there. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
But there's a parallel there.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
It's dark.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying. If it makes sense, it makes sense. This is why I don't do the theory videos that often. This is why I'm sticking to it.
No, but no, no. You have some. Yeah, there's some stuff that we have talked. Lucas is it's like 3-day. Like I always tell that to 3-day, the same type of people. They will talk. You have more that with 3-day, obviously, because we talk more theories. You and I more in just One Piece content. And at one point they will say something, and then you say, then wait, can you repeat what he just says? What? And they'll just say something that is so important, like they don't realize if you pivot a certain way, it creates a great theory. Like,
Yep.
and Lucas is dropping his first theory with TLA soon. His Zoro video, you all have to check it out. It's his first theory that he's worked on.
Yes,
Yeah.
my Zoro
Looking
theory.
forward to it.
His deep-rooted fear. The fear of what? Well, you'll just have to watch and find out.
So yeah, so listen, this is if you guys have any last word to say, I think we'll seem to end the stream. So if you got anything.
Any
And
last
also,
questions, chat?
Yeah, and also guys, you should know after this stream, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing a stream with Kev DOG, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, guys, go to that after this stream. Don't forget to hop on that stream that Trival's having with Kev DOG.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Buster Call on my channel. Me and him are gonna chop it up for a little bit. It's gonna be on my live channel, not my new one. So yeah, guys, 333 VIL live. It's gonna be a good time. This stream was really fire. I really enjoyed all the directions we went.
Oh yeah, man. It's like
Yeah,
I
welcome
said,
to your first taste of the chaos that is TLA, my man.
Yo, I love chaos. Maybe as much as we need order, we also need chaos.
Exactly.
Bet.
Exactly. You know, I know it's been like I said the start. You're one of the 4 people that it was important to have you on stream. I'm happy in terms of like bigger content creators that we've had. I'm happy you were the first one. You know, so it's like
Of course,
you know,
man. And just
it's a big.
hit me up whenever you guys want to cook again.
Sure,
Yes,
for
sir.
sure,
I
man.
could even get a TLA Buster Call. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, guys? That'll be
Mad,
fire, but
mad thanks to everybody in the chat. All you guys are
Yeah.
goats, legends. It has been crazy in the chat. I've been watching this whole time. Everybody's got good opinions. Everybody
Yes,
all
sir.
about that love in the chat, bro. The One Piece is real, and so is the love in the chat.
Facts.
Yeah.
Hard facts.
And also, a big thanks to everyone in the chat, especially. We've been more focused in the discussion. Honestly, I wanted to focus more on the chat, but my mind's been blown up since the start of the stream. So I've been like having difficulty to follow the chat. So yeah, but thanks for everyone being there. Those who donated, for the memberships, the questions, we appreciate you all. Honestly.
Yeah, shout out to I think it was Christian earlier that dropped a 50
Yeah.
bomb. You're amazing,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes in the stream. 5 minutes in the stream.
Barely
So,
even started.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Woo! That's the way to go.
Yeah, but listen, honestly, Lucas, you've got any last thing to say, work on some stuff, because I know you have the whole TikTok angle, so if you want to tell people some stuff before we
Yeah,
end this stream.
go follow me on TikTok at straw_hat_Lucas. I'm reaching for 5,000 followers right now. I'm about halfway there. And I'm about to be wrapping up ranking every single arc in One Piece. We just released, I can't remember exactly what episode number it is, but we just hit the number 4 spot. It's very spicy, very tasty. Good old Alabasta action. But yeah, follow me there. Obviously, catch me on the Last Arc YouTube channel, where I do my News Coup chapter reviews weekly. We may be doing a special episode this week, kind of talking about the Screen Actors Guild and Writer Guild of America strike and how it affects the live action. Still on the fence about doing that. Still, nonetheless, you can find me there. You can find me here on the Last Arc Live. But make sure that if any of you are not following Threevil, to go follow that man. Go subscribe to him. Follow his Twitter. Subscribe to both his live channel and his new content channel. Let's boost this man entirely.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate that.
Listen, from one person who has the struggler symbol on their neck to the other one, we're here.
Real one. I didn't even know that. You're real for that, bro. Newfound respect.
Yeah, it is tattooed on my neck. I do not sleep anymore.
Yes, sir. Yeah, as always, I have so much fun doing these collabs, and I'm glad that Cube was able to get me into one of these TLA ones. Like, this was actually fun. I really enjoyed the respect, the love from the chat, as well as from you guys in the VC. Like, this was actually fun. Like, talk about the NL electricity for a while. We went into live action, predictions on Egghead. Like, this was a whole vibe, and this is the type of stuff that makes me want to make content. So thank you to everybody in TLA, as well as everyone in the chat. Like, this was genuinely enjoyable.
I honestly, I try to make it as our VC chill when I used to pop out on your Discord, on your VC, and you would tell me on something you're working on, and we would just spitball One Piece. I really want to take it back to the source, so I try to make it as chill as possible.
Yeah, you do a great job, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. But yeah, so want to thank everyone for showing up. You all been goats.
Go to chat, W chat. Make sure you guys like these stream too.
Like these
Yeah, like
streams!
this one.
Gotta bring that energy, yo.
And I am signing us off.